Welcome, one and all, to Criterion Castaways, a show where we sail the seas of cinema until we find ourselves washed up on random shores. I'm the worst of your two hosts, Nick Fiore.
And I'm the second best of your two hosts, Jacob Katz.
How are you doing, Jacob?
Doing all right. We're joined with a special guest today. It's my cat, who right now is licking his balls, so...
Aww. Oh, God. Oh, my God. You know what I just thought about?
What you just thought about?
They have, like, kind of sandpaper kind of tongues. That sounds awful.
So what movies did we watch for today, Nick?
What does it say on my royal crest, Admiral?
I hate pirates.
This week, we watched The French Dispatch by Jacob's favorite director ever, Wes Anderson.
Nope.
We watched Double Indemnity, a very awesome noir film that kind of is the granddaddy of all noir films. I Married a Witch, as well as Naked Prey.
By Cornell Wilde.
I mean, how did you feel about this week in terms of the films we watched? I mean...
It was a lot of like bouncing around in terms of tone, I think, because I Married a Witch is such like a goofy screwball comedy, like a classic 1930s slapstick, funny movie. French Dispatch has a little bit of that, like, that gaiety in it, but it doesn't, it dealt with a lot of more serious or more attempts to be poignant with its subject matter. Naked Prey is, I don't want to say a white savior movie, but a little bit. And then Double Indemnity is like, it's a very fun movie because it's such a classic film noir where like every line is kind of a dig at somebody or something. But it's also, you know, this lady's trying to murder her husband. So it was...
Yes, that film, I feel very similarly about these films. There's sort of this, there's such a variety of tones, and it was kind of a little bit of whiplash kind of going through it initially. Yeah. But I think in some ways it was nice to have that kind of variety as I was like, yeah, no, I'm really excited to discuss all of them. And I know how much you appreciate Wes Anderson. So I just want to tee you up a little bit. Give me a little bit about your favorite director.
So Quentin Tarantino began his career after he worked in a Hollywood blockbuster video store. Now, I think my like film bro red flag is that I'm not a huge fan of Wes Anderson. I do not think he's a bad director. I think he's an incredible director. He has a very distinct sense of style, and that's not something you get a whole lot nowadays, especially not with his penchant for staging and visual flair. I just really think that he's kind of lost the plot with that style over the substance of the movies, and I don't find myself liking them very much. Every now and then I'll go back to a Wes Anderson movie and I'll go into it and I'll say, I'm gonna have an open mind, I'm gonna try and enjoy this, and every time I'm like, it was fine.
I want to know, like, do you have one you're like, that's unabashedly great?
I think of the ones I've seen, Grand Budapest Hotel I think was the closest thing to his where I was like, okay, I enjoy this, but I still, it wasn't one where I finished it and I was like, I need to watch that again so soon, which I know it's on the Criterion list, so we will be watching it at some point. It was just one where, I don't know, it didn't hit me as hard as I've heard other people say it affected them. But I think that's more me being cynical and probably dead inside than it is a comment about the movie.
I don't have that dissimilar of a relationship with Wes Anderson. I think what's interesting to me is that he's someone that I have known about and have discussed with people, I think, more than most directors, but I have not seen or been pushed to see a lot of his films.
I respect his movies so much. I just don't find myself enjoying them.
No, I find it almost sometimes like, it's like listening to a podcast where all the content is fantastic, but the voices, you're just like, fuck.
None of our listeners would know what that's like.
Not at all. I mean, I have this smooth, silky voice that's great, and I'm excited to share it with everybody.
That's us, the Gilbert Gottfrieds of film.
Don't worry about it, guys. I will be the next Iago when they inevitably remake. Oh, when they
remake the live action Aladdin as an animated movie in the future.
Oh my god, it's crazy that like we're at a point where they've remade it. I just fully forgot about Will Smith as a blue monster. Ha! That was my Will Smith impression as the genie. That's not why we're here to talk about. We're here to start with The French Dispatch. Now, Jacob, I because you love it so much, I want you to give me a rundown of this film.
Sure. So The French Dispatch is, I guess you would call it like an illustration of a magazine, if that makes sense. It's a movie very heavily inspired by the New Yorker reviews, magazines, like think piece article publications. And so the movie is 3 larger vignettes that are articles written by the contributors to this magazine, a travelogue of someone who's just kind of giving you exposition about the city that the magazine is published in, and then a framing device of the editor of the French Dispatch, the magazine,
Arthur Howitzer Jr.,
played by Bill Murray. He dies, and so this is the final article. And so like the framing device is the writing process of this magazine, of these articles. Then you get the content, and then at the end it's an obituary for Howitzer, which it tells you he dies at the beginning. It's not a spoiler, even though we will be spoiling.
It's an Aaron Burr situation. He'll just say, "I'm killing Hamilton."
Yeah.
The damn fool I shot.
Man, if only Bill Murray was rapping for this whole movie, then I would have liked it.
This is an interesting thing for me with this film does that I often love in other films, but I found it only worked occasionally for me, is there's the way that the framing device of them literally, as you described, talking to the editor as they're kind of working through the story, and he's breaking down what needs to be changed or what might need to be elaborated on or something, or in some cases it's like they're presenting it in a particular way. Like
that's like my overall biggest issue with this movie is like it's getting in its own way narratively so many times, and there's only one moment where the nesting framing devices I think actually succeed, and it's the very end of the movie, which I appreciate because it ends it on kind of a high note. But yeah, like the first vignette is you are being read this article that the author wrote, but then it's being presented to you as a lecture that she is giving at the opening of an art gallery.
Absolutely.
Which is then the secondary framing device for the story of the artist that is inside of all of this. And you're trying to follow all this stuff, and the Wessiness of it just kind of collapses in on itself sometimes, and it's trying to do so many things that are, I guess, arguably all working on their own, but just start to make this unstable Jenga tower of stuff where it's like you're getting fed all of this exposition, all this information, you're trying to follow multiple different story threads, you're trying to kind of store in your mind the names and backstories of all these people that they're just throwing at you, and that is inside of a framing device with, I think, humor that sometimes falls flat, and some
or
stylistic...
it's almost like it's so overlapping. I found a lot of this film, and just to kind of ground us, I'll start with like the first piece that you're discussing is the Concrete Masterpiece, which is written by
you can just say Tilda Swinton's character, because holy fuck, the names in this movie are crazy.
No, I got him. I wrote them down, so I'm gonna do it. But I get you. This, yes, as you mentioned, the lecturer J.K.L. Berenson, who is played by Tilda Swinton, who I feel like outside of the narration kind of gets lost in this piece. Like,
yes,
I mean,
100% she does.
And because you're also getting adjusted to the film at this point.
Yes.
And
tell me a little bit about what happens in the Concrete Masterpiece, because I have kind of a larger ranty point about this that was ticking me off a little bit. But I would love to have context for any listener.
Absolutely.
So
to
I
build
can
off of it.
Get frustrated.
No. So this, I would say the best way to kind of describe this one, the Concrete Masterpiece, is effectively a retrospective on the works of this fictional artist who is a prisoner throughout most of his artistic career, Moses Rosenthaler.
Yeah.
And then his relationship with both Simone, who is like this guard that he has this, I mean, I wouldn't say love connection with, but sort of she's the muse of his work, but also, I mean, literally his prison guard. Mm-hmm. And then his work being effectively commoditized and brought to the art world through Adrian Brody's character, Julian Cadazio?
Cadazio? I don't know.
Cadazio?
Every name in this movie needs to have 4 syllables or more.
This section is very much about a very specific time in modern art, not to say like contemporary art. This is like the 1900s up until like the 50s. There's this like art movements that are happening where basically artists are being seen for
their commercial viability a little bit.
Well, absolutely. But the commodification of also the them seeing the world in a very different way. Like them effectively rejecting how art has traditionally been done. This is not realistic art necessarily. This is not art that it's supposed to be impressionistic. I can't help but feel like this film is basing itself on, there was this in the early 1900s a museum piece exhibition that was very popular and traveled around Europe. It was effectively about the art that was made by an insane asylum inmates. And there was this like they have a better sense of this other higher order of the world.
So I think Rosenthaler is based on, I'm going on Wikipedia, David Alfaro Siqueiros.
Okay.
I'm definitely not pronouncing that right. Who was a Spanish artist who did large public murals. Like it. There is a lot of historical context in this, which I understand is like also heavily inspired by the New Yorker, and
yes.
I think the movie gets in its own way a little too much with all of that.
Absolutely.
And I understand how much Wes Anderson loves the New Yorker, but I really think that, I don't know, the normal viewer who's watching this isn't going to see Adrian Brody and go like, that's Lord Duveen, a guy who I only know now because he's linked to from the casting section on the Wikipedia page for French Dispatch. Oh, it's there's a lot of legitimately smart things in it.
Yeah.
But there's also so many layers of things just slathered on top of each other, much like a fresco on a prison wall, which is the type of art that Rosenthaler makes. But it gets kind of frustrating to discuss. And this is like the ranty point I wanted to make, because summarize the first of 3 vignettes in this movie, here's what you have to do. You have to say, okay, the French Dispatch is a movie about a magazine. The magazine is published in 1970s France. The first article in the magazine is written by this woman who is delivering a lecture at an art gallery of her employer, who found this artist in a prison. That's just the setup for the story. I have not told you about any of the characters yet. Here's this, like, the synopsis of the story that I have just set up. This artist is in a prison and he's making art based on his prison guard. Good. That is like a simple thing to explain. But then to describe how the rest of that goes, like, he falls in love with a prison guard. He makes art about her. An art dealer who is also in the prison finds this and wants to commodify him, like you were saying, and make him famous so that the art dealer can make a big profit. Great. Like, again, the story itself, very simple. But to get to that point in the movie, it has to keep ping-ponging between, like, the author of the article writing the author of the article in a different space, still talking about the subject matter of the article, but in a completely different tone of voice, because she's trying to be like halfway funny a little bit in this presentation, but also then recount to the people watching the presentation her experience with this artist, but through a weird like second person point of view, I guess, because she is recounting her experience as the assistant of the art gallery owner.
Yes.
Who isn't part of the story very much at all. And then it gets so difficult to follow, because all of these names are being thrown at you. J.K.L. Berenson, Moses Rosenthaler, Ma Clampett, Julian Cadazio. Simone is the simplest one because like that's just her name.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, the movie is kind of structured where here's a character, here's their full name, here is 3 quirks about them that don't really matter about the movie, like don't really matter to the plot. It's just a way to help identify the character, but it doesn't need that, because there's so many A-listers in this movie that you can just say, that's Adrian Brody, that's Henry Winkler. I don't care what their fucking name is.
That's actually really helpful too, because I mean, I think it also goes to kind of how Wes Anderson uses his players and like throughout his films.
And everyone is doing a good job. Like I don't want it to feel like I'm putting down the quality of the movie. It's just so frustrating to like summarize, because we haven't talked about the end of this vignette at all, and because we haven't like gotten to it yet, but that's one of 3 things, and none of it yet connects to the plot of the movie, which is that this magazine is a thing.
The audience should know, or at least I would love them to know, because I love like the pre-pro when it comes to other podcasts and stuff. But we I feel like these episodes have been slightly cursed, where it's been like things have happened where it's like,
this is our third attempt to record this episode.
Yeah, third attempt to record, but like million days schedule adjusted, and
I've had to keep all these fucking names in my mind for 4 weeks.
Yeah, no. Well, and I think like given that time, I think I've been wrestling with how I should be kind of not grading the film, but appreciating.
Sure.
If you're trying to adapt a New York Magazine article or New Yorker or like that kind of structure, I think this does a fantastic job, at least in like the micro. But as a film, it does make it like I think details that can add color in a New Yorker article, as they do, are best conveyed in text, like in the written form.
100%.
Because as soon as they're visualized, you are there's something very evocative about it. But since there's so much framing that's happening, or I'll give one example I think is really helpful. At a certain point, we get to a piece of this moment. Adrian Brody is bringing basically Moses, the artist's work, to the public for the first time in a meaningful way. He's bringing an entire audience of people who will be buying it and the media to the prison to see it. This is like the big showcase. He's been trying to get this happening, the entire plot of this, and has been having kind of this fight with Benicio del Toro's character Moses. And he brings all these folks there, but there's sort of there's both them coming into the prison, this big group of people, then there's all these like other little vignettes.
They have to bribe the guards to get into the prison because there's no way to get Rosenthaler out of the prison. Yet another like layer to all this is that he is in there for attempted murder, right?
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
And like his art is so well loved because Cadazio, his whole mission was to make a legend out of Rosenthaler despite no one really knowing who he is. And I guess it's technically an art world critique because it's like
absolutely
they can spin up an entire industry around this guy that no one knows about just from the allure of him. And
yes, and I think yes, but I find that like in that very specific moment where they're going to go visit the concrete masterpiece, there are so many jokes and visual things happening that you kind of lose a sense of any sense of tension, any sense of like build up, any sense of pacing, because there's just too much happening.
It gets in its own way so many times.
So many times. And I feel like maybe, and that is a thing with like magazine articles when you're adding these little bits of color, you're adding these little definitions of the space, but when it's all kind of smudged together in a visual format that is really genuinely trying to express all that can kind of be described in an article like that, you can't really sit with any of them. And so it's very hard for me even in the moment, which I wrote a lot of notes for this, but I'm kind of relying at least at this moment kind of on my memory of those that section, at least I cannot express to you like all the different little beats or the things that I remember, even though at the time I remember being like, oh, that looks interesting, but none of them stood with me. Like it never really. Like,
I think
I don't know.
It's the difficulty in adapting something from one medium to another is already a gigantic mountain to cross, because you like a book or a written article can go into so much detail about whatever it wants. J.R.R. Tolkien wrote about fucking trees for so long in Lord of the Rings.
Yes.
And then bringing that adaptation to the screen, you can't just do it word for word. You have to recognize the strengths and weaknesses of each medium. With this movie, it recognizes the strengths of a New Yorker article as a dissemination of information. It's just giving you story and plot with every word because that's how writing is. But then in the movie, instead of telling you the story, it is telling you about someone telling the story. And I think in this first one especially is where it collapses so much, because
I think this is very true. I will say, this is something that does not hold as much for the other two stories, which I think
the other two are a little bit better because the author of the article is much more involved in the story itself.
Yeah. In
this
both cases,
one is detached, and I did not like it.
Yeah, and and there's things I love about it, like or like even just like if someone described to me this, or if I read this article, I probably would really appreciate it, or this style of article, because it's like I love the interplay and also the performances of both Simone and Moses, the guard and the painter, and or the sculptor as well. Like there's something really interesting about Simone. She has this quietness to her, this kind of someone who's
Léa
been through
Seydoux is
a lot.
awesome. She's Hideo Kojima's Léa Seydoux.
I knew you were going to say that.
Here's the thing: is like the plot of this is good. The plot of struggling artist or mentally challenged artist in a prison who is struggling with the pressure of making art that other people have put on him, but also wants to express himself and is in love with this person that he just can never really be with because of the higher, like how a prison works. Like that is, it's a very good plot, but the story is not telling you the plot. The story is telling you how this journalist came into possession of the story, and her arc is so much less interesting. But to get the plot, you have to go through all of these hoops of her telling you the story.
No, I think that's, And I think that's, I mean, like, I almost don't want to discuss it too much more because I think we just don't have as much.
I want to ask you a question about it, though, because this is something that I was struggling with a lot. Like, I know I was just talking about the plot versus the story, but then there's another layer on top of that, which is Wes Anderson as a storyteller, as a filmmaker.
Yeah.
And I say that because his direction is such a crucial part of his movies in a way that you can't necessarily say about other ones. Like, we haven't talked about Naked Prey yet, but Coleman Wilde wrote and directed that movie and starred in it. But the direction, Cornell Wilde, not Coleman, but the direction isn't front and center in the way it is in this movie. Like, this is a Wes Anderson movie.
Yeah.
Like, you are going because of his style. And so after you get out of the way of the plot, after you get out of the way of the story, then you have to get through the presentation. And I think in this one, especially this first vignette, not even this movie, he's switching between aspect ratio. He's switching between color and black and white. And I think in the first one, for sure, what do you think that meant? Because I was trying so hard to read into it and be like, oh, there's a reason that this single shot is in 21:9, even though the rest of the vignette is in 4:3. And like the switches between color and black and white, I was trying so hard to impart meaning into it, but every time I had a theory about it, it would then not do that the next time it switched aspect ratio or go to color. Yeah. So what do you think?
Do you mean it like for the whole film or for this one specifically?
It was doing it a lot in the whole film, but I think this one especially, like, as a specific example,
I think.
Oh no, sorry. You talk. I've been talking. You go.
This seems like the one he struggled with the most because it seems like this is like, at least in my opinion, it seems like something where he has all the elements that are right, and he's trying to find a way to make it legible in a way that I think was easier for both what are going to be revisions to a manifesto and then the private dining room of the police commissioner, where I think are much more in his at least immediate wheelhouse in terms of telling the story, because all of the characters are involved in the story, and and if there are framing devices, they are not like, they make sense, like, or you're grounded in them much easier, I think. Whereas
here's the frustrating thing: he wrote the story. Sorry, keep going.
Well, no, I'm in the same boat with you, because I think it's one of those things too where there are parts of this film where I'd really be interested to read the script, because I think it would be hard to know that these problems would exist until you got to editing. I think because all of these things are probably being filmed obviously separately from one another, and like he clearly has a workflow that does well to create all these little vignettes and stuff. But I think it'd be difficult to know that they aren't working until they're all together. In a way that it would be hard to foresee in the same way that, say, like Moonrise Kingdom or the Grand Budapest Hotel function, where it's like you're telling an entire story. Like the whole story is one. And so like even if there are framing devices, they all lend into the core story. And so when you're it's like you're doing a very shortened version of one of these things, you don't have any time to sit with some of them. Yeah. Which I think is the biggest problem of this. But to speak to your point about like apertures, I mean, I think, yeah, no, I think this is a writing
stuff to work through.
Because I think this is just a writing problem. This should have been this story should have been made much simpler. I do think it was an issue of just not knowing that it would have. Because I think the other two stories are complicated, but they are just performed in a way that I think are easier. They're also more connected to like, the things that are immediately happening as well. Like
this movie makes my head bounce around so fucking much, and it's really frustrating because it's like the second you get onto one thing, there's all of this other stuff that layers on top of it to make the movie difficult to dissect. But
and I think that, and I will say, like, that is also like our problem in some ways. Like that is a problem.
Who has ADHD? Not me.
Well, or I mean, it like in the sense of like us doing a discussion podcast about it, because I think like it is not necessarily.
It's hard to structure your thoughts about this movie in a way that go linearly, because the movie is not structured fully linearly. It's siloed off because it has the vignettes, but the vignettes bounce around so much between the quote unquote present and then like the present day of the journalist writing the article and then the present day of the story.
I do think that it's done well in the private dining room of the police commissioner.
That was my absolute favorite part of this movie. Like we'll
talk about it when we get there, but I think it's like to compare this film that I think has an interesting framing thing going on to another film that has like three kind of big stories. I think Steve Jobs from Danny Boyle, which has the framing device, which is sort of this triptych, these vignettes of Steve Jobs' life right before he's giving these speeches that he's always known for.
Yeah, the 3 big Apple keynotes that like defined eras of his life.
Absolutely. And I think what's so interesting about that film is the fact that, like, I'll use an example, like a very specific one. There's a moment in the film where Steve Jobs and John Scully are having this argument. They are at this point at odds. They almost had like this familial, almost like father-son vibe going on. And at this point, it's the midpoint of the film. And there's one scene where it is filtering through 3 different time periods, but they're all having the same argument. Mm-hmm. And it's an interesting thing where I think the writing, the editing, and the pacing of the scene does well to emotionally sit you in these time periods in a way that I think makes us feel how it's like, well, you've always had this argument, if that makes sense. I think we often play out the past in our present conversations.
Sure.
And I think that is something that Wes Anderson is trying to address in this film. Like but because it's through specific types of framing devices, and especially in the Concrete Manifesto, which it's a satire, I understand, but it just does not work on that level.
I don't
because
even know if it's
no
a
emotional
satire.
connection.
I think it's like a love letter to the New Yorker, because he like shouts
or
out
the satire,
all of these
satire to the
art world. Okay, yeah, I see
art world.
I
Yeah,
get you.
yeah. But I get your no. It is a love letter, definitely. I mean, clearly. I mean, if anything, like the New Yorker also kind of almost. The New Yorker almost as a publication seems to mirror also how he tackles.
They're very close
films.
together in terms of like the audiences that they draw.
The white liberal. Not that that's a bad thing.
No,
you just could be a little bit more left. It's fine over here. You could just come over. It's fine.
Just come over.
Hey, universal human rights.
Everybody
you don't need to like close off.
You heard it here first. Nick Fiore wants everybody to be white.
Yes, that was the point I was trying to make.
Now, since you're editing this episode,
here's where we move into
I can give you stuff to cut out. Now you'll see how it fucking feels.
I won't cut that out. I'll just say that I'll just cut it to make
You'll
it sound like you were.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, story 2. This is my second favorite, or maybe it's hard to say. I like him for different things. I think this one works really well, honestly.
Yeah.
This one I felt like has a lot to say. Does a lot of great things with the framing device, especially in both complementing the subject matter, but also the nature of how media kind of tackles, I mean, what effectively is a student movement in France that I think is happening.
Again, based on a real thing.
And based on a real thing. I mean, and it has parallels with a lot of different movements, but there's also just tying it to like even someone like Che Guevara. There's sort of like an idealization of these resistance movements and the people who led them, that they get kind of iconography around them, or they get canonized in a way because of the nature either of they died young or because of the specific personalities they have. But that contrasting with the actual reality of them, which, I mean, in Zeffirelli's case, he's just a kid. Like, he's just trying to figure it out. He doesn't know everything. He's animated by the things that he cares about, but he's also even trying to figure out why he cares about them.
Well, let's talk about who Zeffirelli is and what's going on in Revisions to a Manifesto, because I think this is probably the most plot-dense one.
Yes.
In terms of, like, the moving pieces that actually matter to what's happening. I'll tell you, like, the basics of the plot of this one, and then Nick can kind of go into, if you don't mind, the, like, presentation and some of the thematic aspects of it, if that works. So, in this one, there is the Chessboard Revolution, which is a student protest that then elevates into a... like a scuffle with the local government in the town that the magazine is being published in, which is called Ennui, On the Nose, whoever. So Zeffirelli is the kind of de facto leader of the revolt, but he's, like you said, a very young kid. He's played by Timmy Chalamet before he got too big for his britches with Martin Supreme. But the framing device in this one is that the author Lucinda Cremens is trying to get more information about Zeffirelli and about this movement, but also is very staunchly held to her notion of journalistic neutrality, which she keeps saying over and over again, that she does not want to be a part of the piece, but also she is finding it difficult to kind of sit on the sidelines and let these things happen, especially if the manifesto that Zeffirelli is trying to write is flawed because he's a kid. He's not a great writer. And she, as a very good writer, is struggling with that. So as she's trying to help she's trying to learn more about Zeffirelli, she starts a romantic relationship with him, which she doesn't want to do, but she also sees that he is in love with Juliet, who is another I guess, high-ranking person in the students' revolution, which it also should be said that, like, the students are revolting because the boys want access to the girls' dorms. That is the whole thing. They're also protesting that Mitch, I think is his name, gets drafted into the French army and has a difficult time there. So they elevate their protest into a revolution against the police. It's called the chessboard revolution because they're using chess to communicate with the government, and whoever wins the chess game, I guess, wins the conflict, whatever. Zeffirelli and Juliet are at odds, but Cremence says, like, you guys are just in love. Go fuck. And they go do that. And then at the end of it, Zeffirelli dies because he's trying to repair a pirate radio tower that they have set up, and he falls off of it, I think is what happens. Yes. And so then, like you were talking about with Che Guevara, a picture of him becomes symbolic of the movement, but also kind of a commercial thing that just gets put on t-shirts and binders and all that. And then a while after this happens, Cremence, what does she do? I think she, like, localizes a play about Mitch's army experience and also Zeffirelli's death. So her journalistic neutrality kind of falls away after she removes herself from the equation, because then she's like literally bringing the story to the people with her own, not biases, but her own stylistic tendencies, because that's what a localizer does. And also, you know, she helped him write his manifesto. So that's the plot of this one. Very simple, very, you know, easy and done with type of thing. Now Nick talk.
This one is so interesting to me, and this also might be like very tied to also my like present and past interests in revolutionary spaces or like left movements, this is definitely framed around throughout most of the world. There's these student movements that I think this portrays very well the messiness of them.
Sure.
And also just the age that everyone is. You're both trying to literally learn about the things that you are commenting on. You are also then in disagreement because you're in an academic environment. You've been taught to critique and try to find the truth of the matter, if that makes sense. And if people have differing, I don't know, points of view on these things, it can kind of devolve a little bit. This is such an interesting moment in the film because you have Juliet and Zeffirelli who clearly have this connection romantically in some ways, but they embody both of these kind of pieces that can sometimes happen in like left and socialist spaces where effectively there's like someone who is much more to the left, who has deconstructed, like in the Juliet form, where she is, even the concept of working within the system in some ways is anathema to her. And Zeffirelli is able to connect with, like he's literally close to Mitch, this kid who goes off to what they call the Imperial War. And they're at cross paths because they just have they're still trying to figure out where they even sit on some of these issues. Just to ground us a little bit, the story starts where we're in the cafes, or kind of the
hangout spot. Yeah.
The hangout spot, exactly. It's like a local like soda pop place, basically. And people are like gallivanting. They're
those gallivanting kids.
Why do I talk like I always
why do you talk like you're inside of this movie?
You see, the bourgeois. It's this Imperial War.
No. You have to look up a thesaurus for every single adjective and use one that no one's spoken in 12 years. That's how Wes Anderson writes.
Some friends were making fun of me because I was like, what I've been reading lately is like fucking like Lenin, State, and Revolution.
You
and then,
fucking nerd! Stop reading political books. You don't need
it's also
that
just,
now in 2026.
Not at all. There's no, and then like also a book like an MLK, and then also like all these like different things that are just like the language is seeping into my head, where it's like I'm using these words that just mean nothing.
I don't know if MLK ever said gallivanting in a speech, but I'll defer to you on that one.
You'd be surprised. Also, my guy read Marx, based. He read Nietzsche, less based.
I'm not saying that. Hey, I'm the first person. I'm the first person to say that Martin Luther King Jr. was based.
You were the first person to say that?
No, I will be. You
will be. Yeah, it hasn't happened yet, but you're
think
there.
Like to get us back on track. I think one of the interesting dichotomies in this is that like Zeffirelli and Juliet are like it's in a very male focused society because it's France in the 60s. Like I know that there is European freedom and all that, but it's still a very like gendered society. And so Zeffirelli is the de facto leader of this, even though he doesn't have much to say.
Yes.
He is the one with the voice. Juliet has so much more to say, but is not the one who's able to speak for everybody. And so they're at odds constantly because like Zeffirelli wants to do right by all these people, but he just doesn't have the tools to do it. And Juliet has the tools to do it, but doesn't really have the following, I guess.
No, absolutely. Or the buy-in. And I think this is also to be said about like even just the focus of their revolution starting around Mitch, which is a very particular one, but it's something that does resonate with me in the sense that like in the 60s, I mean, this moment of Vietnam or even today, there's sort of this galvanizing thing that happens when soldiers who have been basically drafted to go into what are effectively like imperial or colonial, I mean, France, like these movements to like colonially police like another people, which is what Mitch was kind of partaking in, or at least a fictionalized version of what France was a part of in this like in the decolonization moment that this era is speaking to. Is that like he's coming back, he's a male figure who is burning his uniform, he's the one who's kind of making the stand, but I mean almost because of the patriarchal society they're living in, it's like it's going to be the men who are facing this, at least because the women are literally not told that they are powerful enough to go oppress other people, if that makes sense. And I hope I'm not getting too much in the weeds, but I think this is a good point to kind of bring in Frances McDormand's character. Sure. Oh my gosh. I think she does such a fantastic job where without getting like, so you don't get lost in kind of the politics of these students, where she's able to be this kind of, I don't want to say like elder statesman who can kind of look back, and because she has kind of this,
she has experience, like she's been in the world for a while.
Absolutely. Has seen movements like this die. Have seen like
she's covered, this is her beat. She has covered stuff like this before.
And that's what's so interesting too, is it's like her relationship and most journalists' relationship to these movements. Like you get very intimate with these people and you kind of have to get a sense of them. But then it's like, what is that line where I am taking an active role and when you know you can help and you become emotionally involved. I mean, that I feel like this happened and it still happens, but like it happened a lot in the 60s where journalists would get very close to their subject matters, become friends with them, have a sense of them, and also, I mean, want to help the revolution, like help the movement. Like you said, she's helping him write the manifesto, which is so interesting as a choice. And I love their little relationship. And I think, I mean, as much as Timmy's having a hard time right now because he's saying dumb shit, it's like, he, as an actor, did a good job of portraying, I think, the boyishness of this role, but also like
he is a good actor. Like
he's a good actor.
He does silly things, but he is a good actor. And I think in this one especially, like his character works with him because he's still so young. When did this movie come out? 2021. So I mean, he was how the fuck old is Timothée Chalamet? He's 30 right now in 2026, and so he was 26 there, but he's playing much younger, and it works because he is so good with like being innocent and being kind of inexperienced in the world, and that kind of juxtaposed against Lucinda, who has so much experience, and Frances McDormand has such good staying power as an actress that they work amazingly together. And
like there's a gravitas to her performance, and even though like Zeffirelli has this like feelings about her, and especially Juliet has her feelings about like this journalist kind of getting in the middle of their movement, they do want to listen to her. Like they do have a sense of like she knows what she's talking about. But we do get to a point where the revolution kind of is having a backlash from the government. Like there's like they've created the situation where the revolution starts after Mitch kind of comes back and renounces the government, and he's like, I think is the idea that he gets in like. What starts the revolution? Is it like he gets?
I believe that like
arrested.
It starts as a protest because the boys want access to the girls' dorm, and then it becomes a revolution after they hear how terrible Mitch's time in the military was. Yeah, because I think like he sees a kid commit suicide rather than fight for France, and so that's when he kind of loses faith in it, and then when he gets punished for having that loss of faith, I think that's when it becomes a full uprising.
I see.
I might be wrong.
No, I think you're right. I mean, I think in the sense of them wanting to even co-ed the dorms, it's like we're going to make a cultural movement.
A shift.
Yeah, exactly. They're trying to protest and get these changes to the university. They're also like blockading the streets of Paris. And there's a moment where everything kind of almost falls away, where the government comes in because they didn't do a move on the chessboard. They're like, fuck it, let's go in. We're going in. And that's kind of that moment where Lucinda effectively is like makes this much more intervention in their immediate lives, like you were saying with Juliet and and Zeffirelli, where
Go
it's to know,
fuck. Yeah.
go fuck. Which I think is, I mean, it showcases something about like their youth as well, which is like they're just trying to figure out themselves. They've barely even experienced some of these things.
Well,
her relationship with Zeffirelli is
I think it also shows the depth to her character because she's kind of portrayed as being a very no nonsense, business focused, kind of cold person. Like even after her and Zeffirelli sleep together, like she is working in the bed. She is like not really giving him any bit of emotion, but she very deeply understands the human condition because she sees these kids and she's like, you guys just need to go make love. I think it gives her so much depth because like she's probably like, if this is her beat, she's probably covered some really fucked up stuff, but she still understands why humans do the things they do, like on a macro level with society, but also on a micro level, like those two kids just like each other. And this started as the boys wanted to be able to socialize, or maybe a little bit more than socialize, with the girls in a less supervised way. I think this one has such a good plot that is let down by some of the writing, which like, I know that Zeffirelli is supposed to be not a good writer, but like there's a part where he's writing a letter and the line in there is, her large stupid eyes watched me pee. And I'm like, man, fucking come on. There's ways to write people as bad writers that don't have lines like that in there.
I almost disagree, almost in the sense that like,
how dare you?
This feels very like he's trying really hard, because I think of like that there's a video game Alan Wake where it's about a writer who's not very good, and sometimes it's very difficult, I think, to write a writer that isn't good.
Completely.
You have to,
it's more like, I feel like the intention of that line was like, he is a child, he like doesn't quite know what to talk about, but in that case have him making bad or very surface level points about the revolution, not talking about this girl he just had sex with, like, you know.
I don't know how we would go about characterizing some of these elements that I think are pretty integral to these characters, like Zeffirelli, like portraying his youth, and like he's not very good at this. We kind of see this at the end where after they have sex and all this happens, like it's kind of an innocuous moment where they're going to go read the revisions for the manifesto, like off at the radio tower, and he just goes up to go fix it, and then he dies. Like he
doesn't know what he's doing.
He doesn't know what he's doing, and then he becomes. Firstly, the movement dies and then this happens so much. Like this is, it's very sad, but it's a tragic thing about these social movements. I mean, I think so much about like that. I mean, MLK or RFK. These movements are very often predicated on people, personalities, and if they waver, if they die, you can lose so much like of that energy, and it's hard to move forward. It's hard to know what the next step is. But in the same case, it also like calcifies their image in a very specific way, where that image of Zeffirelli that gets spread around that Lucinda is kind of discussing at the end of this piece is just that it becomes commodified. It becomes this thing for people to look at as like, oh, the passion of youth, the power of youth, and her struggling with the fact that it was kind of just so mindless the way that he died, and that they didn't get anything that they were trying to really get, and that none of them also will know who this man was in the way that he was just a kid, and it's deeply upsetting to her, and I love that the editor, who is Bill Murray's character, it kind of has like no notes, and it's very emotional, clearly, like Lucinda's still holding on to this pain when we kind of get back to the present moment at the French Dispatch. But I really like this one. I
thought this one was good. It was also the one where I think the presentation got out of its own way enough. Like there is still some Anderson-y-ness in here. Like there's still the stuff of like they show Mitch's backstory as the play that Lucinda localized. And they do like some of the kind of, I guess you can call them like 1930s ass looking stuff. Like when he's climbing the watchtower, it's very clearly like a set. Not even like it's made to look like a very small, tiny little set. But for the most part, I think this one like didn't have a lot of presentation gimmicks. The only thing I came out of this thinking about was, man, Wes Anderson should just direct plays. Like the part of this that is staged as a play, I know that it's using some like cinematic techniques. Like it's obviously cutting and editing around stuff, but you can tell that they did stage it like it would be on a stage. They have all these moving set pieces. They have all this stuff that would be possible in a theater and would be so immensely impressive to see in person and see done on stage. That would fully get me on board with Wes Anderson if this stuff was being done live, because he obviously has such high influence from the theater world. He does all these tableaus and all this like very deep staging thing that they do on stage. Just fucking direct plays, man.
Yeah.
His method of storytelling would fit that so well because you would see the people doing stuff and like there's things about theater that this all feels like it would fit really well that in a movie just doesn't have the same sauce to it, you know?
I understand what you mean, and I think it would be. I would love to see what he would do with it. I think because they're not mutually exclusive necessarily. Like they don't have you don't have to do one or the other. And obviously a lot of people have transcended many mediums. I am sympathetic to the view that you like a medium for its particular things that it offers you, and the creative challenges are different in a way too. Like what you're trying to solve. It'd be interesting though. I mean, do it if he wants.
Come on, Wes.
And they want.
Yeah.
Come on, Wes.
See, that was like I thought this was the one where the presentation got the most out of its own way, and I appreciated that, especially because the story had a lot more interconnectivity with the magazine as a publication as opposed to the concrete masterpiece.
Yes. On that note, let us move to story 3.
There's fucking still so much of this movie to talk about. Jesus Christ.
The private dining room of the police commissioner. Jacob, would you like to give a summary of this film?
No.
And
Yes.
that's the show, Criterion.
And that's the show.
Castaways.
Everybody go home. Yes. So in this third vignette, the food journalist of the French Dispatch, whose name is Roebuck Wright, is recounting a meal he had provided to him by Lieutenant Nescaffier, who is the chef, like resident chef in the Ennui police station. He is, I guess, very well renowned because he makes food specifically for the police officers, but is also just a world-class chef. And their dinner is disrupted when the commissaire's, like the police chief's son, is kidnapped by a group of criminals led by the chauffeur. And so the rest of it is Roebuck following the police. Could you fucking not?
No.
Bless you. The rest of the vignette is Roebuck following the commissaire and the police force, and specifically Nescaffier, as they go to the criminal's hideout, where Nescaffier goes in and cooks a meal for the chauffeur and his entire gang of criminals, but poisons the radishes, knowing that Gigi does not like radishes. As a show of good faith, he also takes a bite of his meal, and all of the criminals die. Nescaffier is severely wounded by the food, but Gigi and the chauffeur are not harmed by the poison because the chauffeur also does not like radishes. So the chauffeur escapes and they go on a police chase, which is told in a cute little like comic book sequence, which I thought was neat, like on its own in the grand scheme of things,
Yeah,
whatever.
very New Yorker.
I forgot that this was a New Yorker fucking thing for a second. But at the end of the chase, Gigi jumps out of the chauffeur's sunroof and reunites with his dad. And then Nescaffier goes back to the police station where I completely fucking forgot about Willem Dafoe is in this for like 20 minutes or 20 seconds.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
And Willem Dafoe is imprisoned in the police station because he was the accountant for the criminals. That is why they kidnap Gigi, because they want the accountant back so that he can show them where all their money is hidden and stashed and get it to them.
Mm-hmm.
But he is imprisoned in here and was not fed anything for several days while all of this other stuff was unfolding. So Nescaffier goes back and feeds, what's his name? The Abacus? He feeds him an omelet, and that is like first ending of this one. We'll get into the second ending after we discuss that.
What do we think about Jeffrey Wright? I think he's a fantastic actor, and I want to see him in everything.
He's a great actor. I love Jeffrey Wright so much.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck me. I forgot the framing. God damn. There's...
I think this is the best framing device. I think this is of the film. I think it works the best, and I think it does a really good thing, at least for me personally. I have a deep love for James Baldwin and his writing, and both also his interviews, which I think this framing device helps kind of elucidate or alludes to or parallels, is the relationship that a lot of writers, or at least some writers, like a James Baldwin, both as a social activist but also as a writer, is as known for his commentary. These kind of writers have this relationship with the media that they partake in, where it's both about their discussion of their art, but also how these different mediums they fall under, they interviews, television appearances are kind of a part of the work as well. And I think that's a big piece of this framing device, is where we see Roebuck Wright is on a retrospective interview about his career, but also about this particular article, The Private Dining Room of the Police Commissioner. What's interesting also about this particular framing device is it's kind of clever in the way that Roebuck Wright as a person does not remember like things as they happen. He has kind of a poor memory in some cases, and it may not always be able to elucidate the details, but he has a, whatever it is, what does he say?
I think he says either an eidetic or a photographic memory about words he's written.
Words he's written, exactly. And that helps us narrate the story. So it is both him showing the story to the editor, but even in the place of this framing device, he knows exactly what he's written. So he's taking us through the story in that way as well. I
had a bit of an opposite reaction to, like, I think that is a great way to put it, because his relationship to his articles is so different, especially because, like, you can talk about events and you can talk about visual medium so well with the written word, because you can have pictures, you can describe it, do whatever. But food is such a subjective and different type of medium, so it's really hard to describe. And so I think that that's a great point. My initial reaction when I was watching it was like, the TV framing device from a storytelling perspective isn't doing dick, because like he's really just reciting the article he's written, like, to the host. And there are a couple things in there where it's like the back and forth from the host and him does give you more insight into Roebuck's character. Like, I can't remember if another standout line from this movie, but a weakness in cartography, the curse of the homosexual, is a thing that he was quoting from the article or said to the host. There were good things about it, but I thought, like, just him kind of reciting the article verbatim to the host, didn't make sense from the perspective of the interviewer. Like, anyone who's watching and knew who he was would have read the article. And then, like, B, it's so, I don't know, he could be describing stuff in there much like Berenson was describing the story she had also written to her lecture hall, and made it at least a little bit more like storytelling. It just felt kind of flimsy as a framing device to me, but it did have strengths to it. Like, I think it also gave his character a little bit more to talk about with his sexuality, which is a big part of the narrative of this vignette. Like, a very, I think, successful and powerful part of the narrative of his vignette too.
Yeah.
But I had a different reaction to that framing device than you, but that's a source of discussion for this podcast we're doing.
And I will continue the discussion now. So I appreciate what you're saying, and it might also be what it's pulling on for me personally, like just having that relationship with a lot of these interviews, and I love consuming them. I think they're like, especially in the case of James Baldwin, which is definitely the model for Roebuck Wright, is and also a particular time in James Baldwin's career, because James Baldwin as a writer, he leaves, I believe, in his mid-20s to go write in Paris, France. And so there's this kind of expat part of his life where he kind of finds himself. It's an interesting thing for this piece in the case too, because Roebuck Wright definitely has this situation that he's in terms of his homosexuality, where even in this place that is supposedly expressionistic and like artful and more freeing, which I think it still has these layers of discrimination, and even the parallel that happens in the film where we find out how Roebuck Wright even becomes writing for the French Dispatch, where the editor is the one who even gets him out of jail for his homosexuality because of his ability to write. When he writes his narrative about this police commissioner's dinner, the person he even sees when he's accidentally going through the police station is the same jail cell that he was in, and he sees an actual criminal. What is the difference between us two? We were both given the same treatment, even though mine was based on this immutable characteristic of myself. What's interesting to me about that framing device is the fact that, like, it's almost immaterial, some of the details of this specific narrative, because it's very clear to him his relationship to some of the things he's doing is kind of, the food is kind of secondary. It's almost like he does pick it, and he mentions this kind of at the end, where it's like he didn't want to be in the politics of his identity in some ways. He didn't want to be stuck in this darker place, if that makes sense. So food was a way for him to kind of transcend that or avoid it.
Yeah.
And which speaks to that kind of Paris connection with James Baldwin is like, I want to get away from it all. I don't want to be in America right now. I don't want to have to sit in this stew of discrimination in my personhood being understood in a very particular way. There are those moments, I think, that the framing device helps, where it's like, it is very strange how writers are asked to kind of speak to their writing, like in public like that, and like kind of work our way through it. And he doesn't really have that much to say about his writing. It's almost the memories that are brought up in his mind, but are not really addressed.
All he can do is kind of regurgitate his writing to people. To
people, exactly. They want to hear the best
That's
bits.
a very powerful thing. I didn't think about it until you said it like that, but that makes me even more fucking frustrated about the concrete masterpiece, because like that means that Wes Anderson fully understands the difficulty in adapting writing to something else, to a visual medium, and then just shat the bed on the first one, in my opinion.
Yes, I think, yes, absolutely. Whereas I think this one does a really great job of giving those beats of color, but almost acknowledging that they are a little superfluous. But there's also like this tension there of like, why are we like? It's like, why are these
kind of
things
fell
being
into a police altercation, and like it's not something he was
absolutely
prepared to cover, and so
but
like
he can't help but be involved in it.
Yeah,
yeah,
and like he has to keep relating things back to food to justify the article, which I think this was probably the single most successful piece in terms of how everything came together, aside from my problems with the framing device.
Yeah.
Like even the parts of it that were Wes Anderson just being himself, like the stop motion set getting destroyed, the, I think, purposefully bad CGI when the intruder comes down from the roof to steal his son, like the extended New Yorker comic sequence during the car chase. All of that felt like it was just kind of a fun cherry on top that was still more style over substance, but was also charming and not in the way enough to really take me out of it. And I think the car chase thing was actually like kind of justified, because it does not seem like Wes Anderson's style to do a very dynamic car chase. He needs the help of the in-house illustrator, who what was that fucking Jason Schwartzman? Like for just a teensy bit as the illustrator. I love that as an interpretation of it. And also, like, I think it was done in a way that actually elevated some of the comedy. Like there's, it's a Scooby-Doo-esque car chase, because the chauffeur and Gigi get out of the car and start running around, and the commissaire is following them, only for them to kind of do a full 360 and get back in the car. Like that was a good, funny moment that worked so well because it was a cartoon. And like that's when this medium change, like the presentation style, works amazingly. Like I did really like this vignette,
this piece.
Yeah.
And I also kept thinking about, and I would have to rewatch it to kind of get a better sense of how this is being done, but there's something to be said about like how he's portraying the criminals in this, and like the reality of them, where it's clear that this is a very like diverse group of people. Like, I mean, like working class, and like even the woman that the child talks to,
Saoirse
like,
Ronan.
Yeah, exactly.
There for 4 minutes as showgirl number one.
But these are also people that like are in a similar way that, I mean, Roebuck Wright, almost by his identity, like the jobs they chose or the backgrounds they're from, they don't have the same amount of power. And in what circumstances are they like kind of victims of their, like, this is what they think they need to do, whereas like it's like, oh well, the cops are always right, they must have like but they're also the people arresting Roebuck Wright,
and some of these people are just down on their luck, or like just have addiction issues. Like I know I said Saoirse Ronan is showgirl number one, but her name is also Junkie. Ideally, she just has a substance abuse problem, and like she just kind of fell in with bad people. And so
well, it's also like too, it's also to be said that they murdered all those people.
Correct.
For the crime of
they poisoned all those people.
Yeah, which is a murder.
Full murder. Mass murder.
And it says something also about the chef himself. The fact that his role becomes not just to feed the commissaire, the police commissioner, but to be implicated in like literally the state killing people for what could be solved in any other way.
Didn't
like
even want to do it. Like
exactly.
Nescafe gets dragged into this because like that's Gigi's idea. Gigi taps out the Morse code, send the chef. It wasn't the commissaire going in there or Nescafe volunteering. but he's asked why he does it or why he's going to do it. He said, "I'm not brave. I just wasn't in the mood to be a disappointment to anybody." Like, that's such a good, powerful line. He just had this thrust upon him, and he's like, there's so much at stake. I have to do this, knowing that it could kill him, and almost did.
Yeah. Well, and it's also the fact, too, where, like, even the reason he's doing it is because he wants to be seen as a part of this community that he otherwise wouldn't necessarily be a part of. Like,
Nescaffier is, like, he's an Asian chef, right? Like, who plays Nescaffier? Let me see. Stephen Park.
Who is, I think, does a great job. I mean, he doesn't have
incredible
but
job.
Before we get that moment where Roebuck Wright is talking to him on the hospital bed, he really is he's kind of seen as a prop to to this larger, I don't know, the focus of it, which is the police commissioner and his reviews.
So the original ending of the article, as we're told, is Nescaffier going back to the abacus, who's the like mob accountant, and making him an omelet to stop him from starving to death. But at the dispatch office, which I think is one of the only times where like we get Arthur Howitzer kind of being an editor, like contributing to the articles in a way that isn't like write this, cut this, no notes type of thing, is he tells Wright to put back in a segment he took out. And in that segment, Nescaffier is talking to Wright while he's on his like recovery bed, which, as an aside, I thought it was funny. His IV drip just said antidote on it. He's like, the taste of this poison was nothing I had ever eaten before. And do you know how rare it is as a chef to have a new flavor? And like, he looks so legitimately happy to have experienced it, even though he says it tasted bitter, it tasted awful, but it was something new. And then they talk about, like, they're both outsiders. They're both foreigners. Like, Roebuck Wright is a black man in 1960s France. Nescaffier is an Asian chef in 1960s France. That's not the place that those people are normally found.
I found the piece. It's like I'm a foreigner, you know. This city is full of us, isn't it? The city actually is permeating with these people, but they are seen and treated as if they are outsiders, as if they don't contribute, as if they have something they have to prove about themselves.
And that's before even factoring in that like Roebuck Wright is a homosexual. So like
absolutely. Yeah.
They talk about that, and it's such a nice little poignant scene, and it goes back to the offices of the French Dispatch, and Howitzer is like, that's the whole point of the piece, and Wright is like, no, it was the food. But Howitzer disagrees with him, and like that little moment was such a breath of fresh air after this movie kept getting in its own way and kept throwing all of this bullshit at you that never really felt like it had a real point other than here is a story, and here is a framing device around the story, and here is a framing device around the framing device of the story, and look, there's Tilda Swinton. It was so nice. It was such a good note to end on that it was almost kind of, for me at least, shot in the foot by the actual ending of the movie, which is like the obituary and closing of the doors of the French Dispatch, just because there's all these A-list celebrities that are basically making glorified cameos that just kind of pop back in at the end for 4 seconds.
Because it's, I also want to just read the last bits of it just so we have
go for it.
But maybe with good luck, we'll find what eluded us in the places we once called home. And it's powerful, and I think like it speaks to that kind of relationship that editors can have, and even the perspective of him being a white editor,
a white American editor.
Exactly. Like, well, and he's like, he himself is a transplant, someone who has literally, I mean, he's spent almost his entire adult life on a paper just away from his own home country. And
it gives Howitzer a moment of characterization that he hasn't really had before, other than like getting Roebuck Wright out of prison. Like, it's it ties everything together. It does a movie thing. Yeah. It's good.
No, it really is, and it speaks to also the role of editor too. It's just like we only really we feel them in the things that they choose to leave or cut, and like
exactly,
so it's their perspective on what should remain or how an artist should continue to frame a story. So I think it does a fantastic job. And to speak to your point, like kind of as we wrap up the French Dispatch, it does have that kind of, I mean, I don't dislike the ending necessarily, I should say, after that kind of big high, but it is sort of, it does have that thing that his films have, because like it's hard to, we don't get any characterization for a lot of these characters that we're seeing for just a moment. They
Elizabeth
are all
Moss
A-listers.
is in it. Did you remember that she was in this movie?
I did, but mostly because I just
fuck?
like Elizabeth Moss. But I was just like, oh, I'm waiting for her to do something, and then she didn't.
Yes.
So.
So we didn't even talk about the fucking travelogue at the beginning, which is just Owen Wilson riding a bike around a French set. Like, that's just kind of glossed over, all this exposition about this town. But then also it kind of like rapid fire shows us like, okay, here's the cartoonist. Here's this guy that's never finished an article. Here's Elizabeth Moss who edits copy but doesn't do anything until the end. And I think like that it's so kind of symbolic of the problems I have with Wes Anderson movies, that it's so much of, here is a big proper noun, like someone's name or a place or whatever. Here are 3 quirks. We're moving on. You're going to see them again later, maybe.
And yes, no, and it's especially since it's like it because it's like everything is technically special, but it follows such a pattern of how like things are, like you're saying, like it reminds me of like an RPG or something, which like you're like, why does this person have a name in this, and like an NPC just says like villager or something, and you're like,
you got a name, Herb Saint Zazarak. I'm not gonna remember that
Saint
shit.
Zazarak, but she has 2 lines.
If I may, I know I keep bringing this back. It's just because this was the one that obviously got me the most like kind of heated and made me think about it the most. Yeah, because I had the most kind of visceral reaction. But did you ever watch the Roald Dahl shorts that Wes Anderson made for Netflix?
No.
So it was like The Wonderful Story of Henry Sugar, Poison, Rat, and something else. He made 4 of them, and they're one of the few Wes Anderson things that I've watched. And I think that they were at one point maybe shown theatrically, like one after the other, but on Netflix you watch them separately. And like those felt like such a more successful method of doing what this is trying to do, because they weren't like, there is a very loose storytelling thing that I think Ralph Fiennes is playing Roald Dahl, which I guess came after this. So like he learned, but they worked because there is the like framing device of Roald Dahl writing these stories, but they aren't connected to each other other than a guy is writing them. And so it lets them have more freedom in their storytelling, which I didn't like all of them all that much, but they all felt self-contained and they weren't beholden to a bigger piece, and it worked so well.
Yes.
And what this one felt like to me, after thinking about it for a long time, and what I think I've gotten to the point at whenever I watch a Wes Anderson movie, is that most movies nowadays, even like shitty ones, feel like they are vehicles to tell a story. Wes Anderson movies, to me, feel like the stories serve as vehicles to make a movie, and that is really frustrating. Because it feels to me like he wants to show me, here's how good of a writer I am. Here is how good I am at finding these inspirations that very clearly mean a lot to him. I'm not trying to knock that, but it's like, it's kind of showing off his style more than it is anything else. And I think as time has gone on, that's gotten worse and worse. Like Grand Budapest Hotel felt like, from what I've heard people's reaction, that's prime Wes. And it's when there was a good mixture of the two, where one served to help the other. And nowadays, at least the more recent stuff I've watched from him, feels like the scales have tipped fully in the substance way. And I have said to many people, like some of my favorite movies are like Kill Bill and Scott Pilgrim. And I think you could make the same argument there. But I feel like in those movies, at least, the kind of outside the box storytelling and like the clear pastiches or inspirations heighten the subject matter in a way that this one at least did not feel like it did to me. He is so skilled at what he does. You can't deny his talent, but I felt like there was so much love and craftsmanship going into it, and it deserves to be preserved. That's what the Criterion Collection is trying to do, but it never felt to me like it was excited to be telling me a story, you know? Yeah. So that was like the final thought I had after thinking about this the 3 times we've tried to record this episode.
I'm glad that we could. It's almost like an exorcism.
Thanks for letting me get that out. You can cut it if you want. I don't give a fuck. But now I've said it, so I don't need to think about it no more. Big surprise here that this was rated New Yorker's #1 movie of the year in 2022.
That's very funny. It's like, guys, okay,
we get it. We get it.
I thought we should go into our other magical film, I Married a Witch from 1942. Jacob, could you give me a little plot summary for this guy?
This was such a breath of fresh air. I adored this movie.
Really?
I Married a Witch from 1942. It is a screwball comedy film. These two witches in Salem, they're being burned at the stake after being discovered by, what's his name? Jonathan Woolley. And their ashes are buried underneath a tree because that will seal in their spirits. But before they do that, the daughter of the two witches curses Woolley that his entire bloodline will always be marrying the wrong woman. And that is true for centuries. In the 1940s, the tree, what happens to it? Does it get struck by lightning, I think?
It gets struck by lightning, I believe.
It gets struck by lightning. The tree gets struck by lightning, and the spirits are freed, and they find the, I guess, current Woolley. His name is Wallace Woolley.
Mm-hmm.
He was running for governor, and he is marrying this, oh, what a fun lady. She's like this very stuck up, I guess, newspaper publisher daughter. It's very obviously like a marriage for appearances type of thing. The two witches go and follow him around, Jennifer and her father, Daniel, I think.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Jennifer gets Daniel to make her a human body so that she can seduce and then torment Wallace. Her dad needs fire to make the spell, so he burns down a full hotel. And Jennifer meets Wallace. She tries to seduce him without using magic, but he doesn't want to call off his marriage, so she makes a love potion. But a painting falls on her head, and he gives her the love potion as like a water to wake her up because that's medical care.
Mm-hmm.
And then she falls in love with, like, in legitimate love with him because it's a love potion. So then her dad also conjures up a body to make it stop. They crash the wedding. Like, Daniel at this point wants Wallace to like always be tortured, but Jennifer is fully in love with him. However, he like gets drunk and gets sent to jail because the witches manifest as like these little smoke spirits, and so they can kind of travel around in bottles. And he like travels into a whiskey bottle and then just gets absolutely blitzed, which is so fun. So he goes to jail. Wally and Jennifer run away. They go get married, and Jennifer uses her witchcraft to fix the election. He wins unanimously, which is really funny. And he realizes that she is a witch because even his opponent voted for him. Daniel says that because she revealed that she's a witch to him, he needs to strip her powers away and therefore her immortality. She asks Wally to help her escape, but Daniel is driving the taxi they get into, so he flies it into the sky, crashes them into the tree. And then at midnight, Jennifer dies because at this point she's centuries old and turns back into a plume of smoke. Both of them go back to the tree, but Jennifer asks her dad to let her go watch Wally be tormented by his unrequited love for her, and he allows it, but she traps him in a bottle of liquor again and goes back into her lifeless body that Wally's just kind of keeping on the couch. And then they like lock him in this bottle and live happily ever after and have kids that might be witches.
Ooh.
So yeah, that's the whole movie. It's like an hour and 15 minutes long, I think. It's so much fun. I really loved this one. It was it was so charming and so silly and like so funny and not even like a 1930s type of way, just legitimately fun.
Yeah, no, I liked it too. And I mean, Veronica Lake, who plays the witch in this
Star.
film,
So good.
She takes a role that really could have been nothing, and not to say that there's really great humor in this, and I was really surprised by some of the humor as well. Just like even just using special effects, almost reminded me of like a Shaun of the Dead, and it has a very Edgar Wright approach, or maybe not approach, but parallel in the terms of like the way that like special effects are often used for comedy, if that makes sense. Like it's a lot of visual jokes. A lot of visual
jokes, a lot of like very quick setup punchline one after the other. And so you get a lot of humor. So even if a joke falls flat, which I didn't think many of them did in all honesty, other than the obvious like, my wife, like 40s ass style humor. But it was, I think, pretty successful with a lot of the humor and even stuff that like definitely wasn't meant as that funny of a joke then, but feels funnier now. Like the witches at one point are like listening in on a party, and there's these two kids who are like, "Do you want to go to heaven in the jalopy?" And she goes, "What language is that, Father?" And I was just like, "That's me when I hear kids say skibbity in 6-7. Like, it doesn't fucking mean anything anymore."
even just getting a sense of like the political like nature of the film. Like, I mean, insofar as it is, like, it's Woolley is going to be a governor, but it's like clearly he's working with like a political boss who create these circumstances that make him like, okay, he's gonna win. Like, he's got money behind him. He's got like literally he's married to political dynasty. I love how Veronica Lake is able to really, I don't know.
She steals every single scene she's in.
Absolutely. I mean, even just the first time they meet together, Jennifer and Woolley, I love the way that she says it too, is in this burning building, and she's just
naked. She's like, am I not pretty? He goes, who cares?
Who cares? We're in a burning building.
We're about to fucking die. Put clothes on.
She knows, like, she just has no, like, not a care in the world, just trying to fuck with him and just poking at him. There's not a crazy amount I have to say about the film other than like it is very fun and playful. It's very much a film that you can slightly, I want to say turn your brain off to, but
it goes down easy.
The plot is very Yes, exactly. Yeah. The plot points are not super important for this film. Like they are elements to kind of get to you to other jokes or almost like stereotypical to the situations. Like just the marriage. I think the main joke that often happens is the fact that he's going to be a married man, and so he's keeps getting in situations where he's unintentionally portraying himself as someone who's cheating, if that makes sense, or doing things that are just, oh wow, this is just so uncouth, and like even just the maid that is in Woolley's house that is just so,
she can't believe there's a
woman right before, and there's so much that they play with the wording or the situations that are just so funny. And even just like his doctor friend he's like trying his best to like help him out of the situation.
He gives him fucking Novocaine and worries why he faints. Like, what the fuck?
Well, his doctors in the 40s, they're just, I mean.
There's just like, well, and on top of that, there's even just jokes that aren't clever, but just are kind of silly. Like, fucking... Daniel tries to get Wally arrested by like framing him for murder. Like, he's gonna shoot Daniel, and then Daniel's gonna like just hop out of the body. And so the incantation he does to make the gun go off is pistol, let it be, murder in the first degree. That's fucking awesome. That's
even
so
just
good.
like the doctor comes back in, he's murdered. Like the man is murdered. The gun is right next to him, and so the dad is just presented as dead. And like his friend is like, I don't think I can get you out of this. Like you've clearly murdered a man. I don't know what the fuck is happening. And it's like also at the wedding at the same time. It's very funny.
It's upstairs at the wedding that has needed to start 4 separate times.
Yes, absolutely. And one that's like the fun gags of like the wind is blown in to like have the wedding be delayed slightly, like from the just, it's just a big wind machine, but it does a really good job of portraying that, or even like
the special effects in this are pretty good. Like
they're pretty,
there's weird projection and there's like bad compositing, because like the smoke effects of these like witch spirits going around is just like a transparent film strip of smoke that's being looped.
But I think it works well.
It works really well. And they mix it with practical effects when they can, to have like actual physical smoke or real fire in some scenes that they then build up with special effects. And it really sells it. Like, not even for the 40s, it just sells it pretty well.
Yes. If anything, like, it kind of has, we were kind of talking about before with the French Dispatches, there's often like a reminiscent quality to some of the effects, where it's like it's miniatures and has that kind of stylistic appeal, and this one does a good job of like, it uses the elements that they had at the time to make the jokes work in a way. Like, it's like even just like we were talking about, like one of the father like witch goes in a whiskey bottle, so he gets fucking drunk. Daniel.
And his drunk acting is so funny.
And you do get a lot out of like, just like if you point the camera in a certain direction, like for a while we're just looking at bottles, like as they are viewing the party.
I thought you
that's
said
happening.
buttholes for a second, then I realized what movie we're talking about. We're not watching Cats.
Heyo. But yes, no, I think this film, it just does a good job. It's just very pleasant. I like all the actors in it. Like Woolley does a good job. Like Frederick March, and
who
like
also was like
Calloway.
all of his own ancestors.
I also just love how Wallace is like trying his best. Like he's like trying to be a nice guy, trying to help out this woman who is clearly just like
woman who keeps like showing up naked around him and being like, I love you, and he's like, I don't fucking know who you are. Frederick March's straight man is so good. Like he does such a good job at.
He's exasperated. he's kind of repressed. Like he just doesn't really know, I don't know, how to act in the situation. And he keeps like, he's like, it is. And also it's like, because of the nature of his situation, he can't like go to somebody in the same way that he might be otherwise able to. Like it is just strange that there's a woman in his home on the night before his wedding, and like and then he's running for governor. Like it would be a scandal. So like it's just, he can't. He just has to figure out a way to get her out.
I fucking had a note about that. I was like, man, remember when it was unrealistic for a candidate that cheats on his wife to rig the election?
That's so funny. God.
What the thing that stuck out the most to me about this one was just like how unabashedly a comedy it is.
Yeah.
Because I went in absolutely completely blind. I did not know it was a comedy. I didn't know what the subject matter was. So like the movie we watched before this that was in black and white from a similar time was Make Way for Tomorrow. So I was kind of prepped for this to be depressing. And so at the very beginning, when like they're doing the witch burning scene in Salem, I was like, did this guy really need a whole book to read 2 sentences? And then a few seconds later, oh, this is a comedy. Okay, we're gonna have some fun here. But also like the production value is so high. There's all of these sets. There's all of these special effects. There's costuming, and like even when they're going through the montage in the beginning, there's all these different fonts that they're using to like match with the time period that they're portraying. But also the camera work is so dynamic. I love it. It's moving around from like piece to piece, that it's bringing you to all these different places in a way that Make Way Tomorrow just didn't do. Like this feels so much like a movie and almost kind of like a cartoon, which makes sense because it's a screwball comedy.
This is something that is interesting. Like I wonder, there's parts of the script that I think definitely fall into like the like Looney Tunes
completely
element, where we just do have scenes which are just built around the premises of jokes, which are told, like, which is very funny. Like, I mean, I love the whole idea too, like what we were describing before, that there's a point where he's just not going to win. Like Wooly has fully forsaken his career because he's like run out with another woman or something. She wishes to have the election go in his favor. And like literally we just have proceeding scenes where everyone is just like slowly becoming enraptured. Like he's just like, yes, I like even the other opposing candidate is like, I'm voting for Willie. Like
I'm voting for Wooly.
And it really is
like, sir, he's your opponent. I don't care.
He's a great man.
He's a great man.
And yeah, like
two prisoners that are fighting about it. One of them is like,
exactly.
I'm voting for Willie. He's like, but you hated him. I changed my mind.
Miraculously.
It's awesome.
It's pretty great.
Rene Claire, who is like was a big name screwball comedy director at the time, and has other things in the Criterion Collection that I cannot wait to get to when we do. Like he knew how to make a good, funny movie, and he knew how to take advantage of the form to make things feel alive. Like there's, instead of a cut in for a lot of scenes, like reframing the camera and cutting so that it's closer for someone, it would just move into them. And that means that they must have had like dolly tracks, or I don't think that they were doing cranes and jibs at this point necessarily, but like that would have taken a lot of setup and a lot of work to move the camera that much. And for an early 40s movie, like it just shows how much effort was on display and how much confidence there was in putting this together.
Yeah. And it is also just cool, like seeing a film from this era, and like Double Indemnity kind of has this as well. Veronica Lake is playing a very like effectively like sexually liberated woman in a way that's just very disarming. Like, I mean, it's disarming for all the characters, but also she really is the driver until basically, I mean, the love potion does kind of change the dynamic a little bit, but she's still like the one pursuing him in this way that is interesting, and also just plays with these gender dynamics that would have been so, I mean, people just imagine are these concrete things. And I'd be really interested to know how people reacted to this film at the time, and if maybe like the witch element kind of, if it softened like some of the sexual politics in this movie, like or the sexual dynamics, like if it was just like, oh well, it's a joke that women don't do this kind of thing, as opposed to like,
I think that it got a pretty warm reaction. Like I remember seeing that people liked it a lot, and then it was nominated for Best Original Score at the 15th Oscars. So I think that it got a lot of recognition, but I don't know if it stayed in the mainstream for all that long, especially when, you know, the war was going on.
And wrapping up, would you recommend this film?
I would recommend this film a lot, especially if people like kind of the mid 2000s Judd Apatow comedies, just because like they're very low stakes and very easygoing. You don't need a lot to get into it, and it has the charm of an old movie without the kind of infantilization that I think comes with a lot of it, where you're like, oh, that's a cute rear projection. It doesn't look good, but I know you guys were trying. Like, no, this is just fun.
If anyone is looking to like watch older films, I think, and like want a good entry point, it's not like this would be a great one to put on, because I think it would introduce you clearly to some actors were relevant to this era. It has good writing. It still holds up. The comedy isn't like feels like you're having to translate it or something. It really has some funny like off the wall moments in a way that's surprising.
This is a great family movie that like
honestly, yeah,
does, and it's not 2.5 hours long, so you don't need to necessarily worry about like a kid losing attention from it.
Absolutely.
And it's silly enough that like there's slapstick, so even if someone is finding it difficult to follow the plot or not getting some of the, I guess, like more dialogue based jokes, like there's people falling, there's like cars flying and shit, there's like, you know, Frederick March just running around being like, oh my god, what the fuck is going on? Like it's great. It's a good time. And I do think it's funny that like the one big piece of information that I found out after looking into it a little bit more was just that Veronica Lake and Frederick March fucking hated each other.
That's really interesting.
They were yelling at each other. They were like playing pranks on each other during filming. They did not have a good time making this movie with each other.
Wow. That's just really surprising.
Which is like, I think one of them, Frederick March, had to pick Veronica Lake up, and so she hid a 40-pound weight under her dress.
Oh my god.
Or like she kept kicking him in the nuts if he had to pick her up and it was a waist up shot. That's so funny.
Damn. Well, the film we're talking about next is Double Indemnity. Indemnity?
Indemnity.
Indemnity.
Double Indemnity.
Double Indemnity is a 1944 film directed by Billy Wilder, and it's also co-written with Raymond Chandler. It's based on a novella, I believe.
Yes.
And this is kind of the granddaddy of all of these LA noir films that have been, every parody of this genre, I feel like has touched this specific film, and the way that characters interact with each other, the type of moodiness, the narration, the colors, or I guess lack thereof in this case, but the shadow work, everything kind of seemingly stems, at least in part, is based on this type of archetype.
This is like out. the bar for film noir. This is what they all come from.
What did you think of this film?
I fucking loved it. Like I've always loved film noir as like a genre, more so as like a kind of a place for parody, because it seems like every show does a film noir episode or like arc at one point or another. I know Archer did it, Always Sunny did it, The Simpsons has done a bunch.
Yes.
I mean, Who Framed Roger Rabbit is a cartoon noir movie, and they like
absolutely
they're just so much fun because people get to write in the like funny haha ways with this, where like, what's one of the quotes from this? He didn't do anything wrong except get married to a woman he didn't care nothing about. Like, what other movies are you gonna get shit like that in there? His name was Jackson, probably still is. Like, that's fun. And even though this is like kind of a sad movie at times, it's like infectiously clever and entertaining, and I really loved it. What about you?
I really appreciated it. No, I really appreciated it. I think there was something, I mean, I think a lot of things clicked for me while I was watching it, in the sense of like just getting us like, oh, this is the foundation of where a lot of these elements come from.
Yeah,
but also it was surprising. I think just the structure of it, I think, was really interesting. Like just how the framing device of Walter Neff, which I think this would be a good time to kind of talk about the film proper. But
yes, sir.
I mean, the film is effectively about an insurance salesman who plots with a housewife to kill her husband. And the overall narrative is framed around his fuck up, that like none of this has gone well as he's hoping for, and he's talking to his boss over BioShock shit right here, where he's like, my man is like, so many canisters,
it's like a personal recording device.
Yeah,
it's
so many canisters are being used by this.
Yeah, the whole framing device is that like we see Neff shot in the opening, like he has a gunshot wound in his side, and he is confessing to Keyes, who we later learn is his boss, about this entire thing. So we come at it knowing that stuff is going to go poorly, and the whole thing is him confessing about it, and it's all just building up to how this went wrong, how he got shot, how he, like, who shot him too. So it's
absolutely.
It's a fun little mystery in the sense that, like, you know someone is going to shoot Neff. You know this doesn't end well for him, but who's it going to be? And if you know any film noir stuff, you know who it's going to be, but the people didn't back then.
I will say I didn't exactly know where it was quite going. I mean, I had like a sense of it. I mean, I think the femme fatale of Phyllis, I think you definitely get a sense for her, but it was hard to know in what way all this would go. And I was happily surprised by sort of the dynamics of it. There was a few places I thought it could go in terms of how this would kind of be. And the film kind of definitely has, at least for me, like two halves where it's like there's the crime itself that they're committing and the planning of it. And then I think the real meat of the story is sort of, oh shit, everything is kind of becoming unraveled. Like, it's like
the investigation kind of takes over after the midpoint of the movie.
Absolutely. And I think that's where the real tension and
completely.
The drama comes in. It's very fun how they're planning it and kind of working through it, but it definitely is like, oh fuck, like everything's falling apart. I don't know how to fucking function.
I would say arguably there's almost no tension in the, like, there's some, but there's almost no tension in the movie until after they commit the crime. Like, it's almost a given that they're going to kill her husband. We should talk a little bit about what their plan is, because the double indemnity thing, I thought, like, I didn't know exactly where the title came from because I hadn't seen the movie before, obviously. But their plan is, I mean, Walter doesn't come into it planning to kill Phyllis's husband. He goes there to sell her husband a life insurance policy. And Phyllis just kind of she kind of incepts the idea in him that she's like, what if he had accident insurance? Because he's... He's what is he, an oil salesman or some shit like that?
I believe so, but it's not going well.
An oil technician. He's something where there's a lot of chance for accidents in his job, and so she's like, I want to get this for him, but I don't know if he's gonna really be into the idea, so is there a way we can do it kind of off the books or kind of trick him into it? And Neff kind of brings up like, oh yeah, there's this life insurance thing that we can do. We just need to like have him sign it, so just have him sign 2 copies of this thing and not tell him. And as they get closer, she's like, I want to kill my husband. I want to run away with the money and be with you. And so Neff comes up with this whole thing, which I didn't see. I thought it was all going to be her idea for the plan.
Yes, yeah.
And he's like, I know exactly how to commit insurance fraud because I sell the insurance. We can take out the insurance, we can murder your husband, and if it happens on a train, it's a double indemnity clause, and you will get twice the payout.
Because it's so unlikely. Given the tropes of these films, like the femme fatale, I think you are meant to kind of already take her as sort of like more devious or mischievous than I think she immediately appears. But it's interesting how she is not the one who is kind of taking the lead on this. Like, she kind of is enticing Neff, but there is something about the fact that he feels like that he's the one in control. He's the one kind of, don't worry, baby, I got you.
I think that's part of her plan too. She's very coy about it. The entire time.
Absolutely. I guess I meant like that is not immediately revealed that this has all been kind of to plan, because there is definitely a turn with her where as we learn more about her relationship with her stepdaughter's boyfriend and her other relations in general, like it's like, oh fuck, like this is not her first rodeo, this is not her first murder,
right? Well, talk a little bit more about that. Fill out some of these side characters for the listeners.
These names are also, they're the kind of ones where you're like, these are old as fuck. So
yeah, Diedrichson is an old ass name. Barton Keyes.
Oh, yes.
Is next boss.
Yes. So we have Phyllis Diedrichson, which is the main woman, the femme fatale of this film. We have Walter Neff, the insurance salesman, who is the one who does the plan with her. There's Barton Keyes, who is Walter Neff's boss of the insurance company. There is, to the side, there's Lola Diedrichson, the stepdaughter to Phyllis. There's Mr. Dietrichson. I don't remember if
we see him
so
like rarely.
So
I don't
rarely,
even think
yeah.
that he gets a first name. He's just Mr. Dietrichson.
What is the name of the...
Nino Zacchetti, the most fucking Italian name that they could have put on any person. I want James Gandolfini to just say that forever.
Nino Zacchetti.
Nino Zacchetti.
And he is like this...
His hair is slicked
ball.
back. It's not greased back, it's slicked back.
Slick back.
It's so like I love this movie. It has such a great sense of style, but yeah, like
Yes.
Lola is dating Nino Zacchetti and she knows that her mom doesn't approve of it, but she still wants to go see him. And Lola kind of tells Neff all about this because she needs a ride over to where Nino's waiting for her after Walter comes to the Dietrichson house, which they said it was a $30,000 mansion, which fucking cool. What comes out is that like Lola doesn't like Phyllis at all because she knows what Phyllis has done in past relationships, which is kill her husbands for insurance money. She's a black widow. This ain't her first rodeo. And
or not kill her husband, but kill she was originally the nurse to Lola's mom.
That's right. That's what it was.
Yeah. So
My
effectively,
bad.
No, you're totally fine. I mean, that is the black.
No, go
it is
for
still
it.
the Black Widow trope, but yeah, no, but yeah, effectively, Phyllis killed her mother by she was being nursed to her, and she was very sick, and created a situation where she left all the doors and windows open to kind of just chill her out. From that point on, it's you first are kind of assuming that that Lola doesn't like her for all the reasons you don't like a step parent or something, but it's this underlying. Just kind of darkness to this otherwise very demure, very like, oh
Very
my gosh,
demure, very
Walter,
mindful.
yeah, exactly. And she does a great job. I mean, the actress Barbara Stanwyck, I mean, just does a fantastic job playing both bits of it.
Queen. Who, I mean, this is like, there's a little bit more to the plot, but this was like a very big name movie. Fred McMurray was the highest paid actor in Hollywood at the time. Barbara Stanwyck, I was getting like mixed sources on this, but I think at the time of the movie, she was the highest paid woman in America.
Whoa.
Frederick March, who was supposed to be in this, he was what's his fucking name? Wallace Woolley and I Married a Witch. He was supposed to be Walter Neff, and he passed on it, which is an interesting little link between these two. And I mean, Billy Wilder is a fucking legend. He did 7 Year Itch. He did Something Like It Hot. He did Ace in the Hole, Sunset Boulevard. This was like the fucking Avengers of 1940s movies.
That gives me a great appreciation because it's definitely something I had not considered, and I didn't do a whole lot of research on each of these actors and actresses, but it definitely feels like these are heavy hitters. But it's interesting to know that this is not like a small movie in the sense of how it was they were approaching it. Yeah, these are big name actors that are all like doing something new, but doing an excellent job of it. And it is a pretty surprising film in many ways. There is a lot of just, I mean, even just the fact that this is the first approach for this type of film. It's not like this is like a proto noir film. This like where it's like, oh, there's some of the elements that get like kind of refined.
This is full ass,
yeah, full ass that exactly.
Like, what do you think about Neff's character? Because honestly, I think like his characterization was the low point of the movie for me. Not because it wasn't done well, because I just didn't really like him until the murder stuff came into play. Until he was being like challenged, because I thought he was kind of a cocky dick.
Well, I think
a cocky cock.
The first thing that came to mind is In Over His Head. Is someone who, I mean, even when we first meet him, there's something about like his presumption, almost like how he feels like he is the main character of a story in some sense, or even when he's like interacting with Phyllis for the first time, like he thinks he is hot shit. He thinks he does kind of know everything. He's kind of he's also the golden boy to Barton, and he's like, oh, of course I can get away with a murder. He's fully falling into Phyllis's web like so quickly that he is. At first, I felt very similarly. Like it feel like almost a little too much how he was kind of approaching things.
He has this like smug little grin on his face for like the most of the first scenes of the movie. He's like, I don't got much going on. I'm gonna go fucking day drink and bowl instead of working today because I don't wanna.
And even how he approaches like every scene he starts in, he always like fucking lights the cigarette. Or
oh my god, his little dumb little
way.
match trick where he flicks it on with his thumb. Like I kept writing the first time, cool. Third time, meh. And then it came back around by like the 10th time in the movie. Like, yes, the match trick is back.
This type of character, I think when it's used in other films, is often portrayed as the coolest character. But to me, those kind of these qualities that he has are almost like insecurities.
I was going to say, yeah.
Yeah. It's like he's even him like picking out where they're gonna talk like at a grocery store. Like, why would that be like a good
you
place?
Can't
like,
see
why
a man and a woman talking at a grocery store. We have to be. we have to talk across
like
the aisle. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Like this does. I feel like this is a worse approach. Like this. I just. Phyllis is. I mean, it plays into her hand. She so quickly can make him feel like he's like her love. Like even though it's so like, why the fuck would she have any interest in him? In particular, like, I mean, if she's not interested in her husband and she's barely known this man for like 5 seconds, the fact that like he thinks that she would confide without having any ulterior motives, I think speaks to his own like naivete, the fact that he isn't a criminal. Like,
I think that's why it's so fun to watch everything go to shit, is because he's
absolutely, yeah.
Fred McMurray plays him as like such a confident guy. There's that bubbling insecurity under all of it where it's like, this is what an insurance salesman is supposed to do. He's so important. This place is like the fucking FBI, I guess. So I need to have my cool little match trick. I need to, keep up appearances and fucking go get a bottle of beer at the drive-in and then fuck off. But then like by the time he's, crawling on the ground shot saying like, give me a head start, I'm going to Mexico. You're like, man, nah, you ain't.
Absolutely. Well, and even just too, like the fact that he's narrating the story for us kind of tells us something about how he views his own view of it. Like,
that is an
like,
interesting. I didn't think about like the unreliable narrator perspective, but that is an interesting way to do it. Like maybe he wasn't the coolest guy. Maybe it took him a couple tries to flick that match up in one or two of these instances, but he's like, nah, I did it the first time. Keys, you know me. I did it the first time.
That's a really good point. Because also when we like, it's like, finally, when he like is with Keys for the last time, like it's just he's like, I'm gonna go to Mexico, and it's like, what? You're gonna go to Mexico?
Are you fucking
like,
serious, dude?
You've been talking for 7 hours.
They
like,
built
about
that
this
wall.
Story. Yeah, yes, exactly. Yeah, no, it's really funny what his like plan is, and he almost immediately falls apart, and Keys is like, oh yeah, okay, dude, okay, we're gonna call the police, and it's like, I'm sorry you did this to yourself, like, like totally unforced error. You had a good job, like had a good life, and you decided to throw it away for a woman you barely knew, and he does something similar with Lola. Like there is
he's a gullible man, which is crazy because he's an insurance salesman. Man, His whole thing is to like very strictly define things and then not have like a big business of money be liable for it.
Yeah.
But all Phyllis had to do is kind of be like, my husband, I don't like him. And he's like, we're going to kill this man.
Yes, exactly. And he's almost immediately a fucking wreck when he goes back to work the next day. Like he can't, he just like, my man is like sweating. Like he's like it's just darting his eyes everywhere. But it would make sense if, you're just you're an insurance salesman, dude. Like, why did you think this was going to go well? Like,
because he thought he knew everything. But it turns out that if you have one specific clause in your insurance policy that says it pays out double on a train, and then like fucking 3 days after, I don't know if it's 3 days or if it's a couple weeks, it's a relatively short amount of time. And then, suddenly this man dies on a train. The last little bits of the plot is that like Lola and Nino are seeing each other, but after Mr. Diedrichson gets killed, Phyllis and Nino are seeing each other all the time. And so Neff thinks like, oh, Nino is the one who's pushing you to do this and to turn on me because he can give you something I can't. I don't think it's ever necessarily revealed what Nino is doing, other than maybe Phyllis is just moving on to her next target because Nino he comes from money, or he's involved in something. Like he seems like he might be. Is
that because he's Italian?
He seems like he might be a mafioso. I don't know. But
I think what's funny is we just don't, like, I think that's almost like the thing we're supposed to get, but it's pretty clear
Nino
that, like,
is a complete red herring.
Yeah, complete red herring.
He does almost nothing other than give Neff suspicion.
Yeah.
But it's great because you need that to kind of to mix you up a little bit before the real plan is revealed, which Phyllis is like planning on shooting Neff and just running away with the money, especially after she gets called into the president's office at the insurance company and has to basically testify like she has no idea what's going on. Why would she? Like, she's in mourning for her husband. How dare you accuse her of stuff?
Absolutely.
And she basically says to Neff that like she never loved him up until they were about to shoot each other. And then she shoots Neff. Neff shoots her. Neff is like leaving the house to go confess all of this because he's about to fucking die. And he sees Nino going up to the house. He's like, go get with Lola. She's a nice gal or something. And then like the ending is actually kind of touching because Neff like finishes his confession to Keyes. He's recording it on like a phonograph or digital recorder or something. And he's like, I'm going to flee to Mexico. And then he just kind of collapses in the doorway. And the two are like, we're friends? Yeah, we friends. And then the movie ends. The ending is interesting because, I mean, ostensibly the whole movie's about like the fake or real love between Phyllis and Neff, or Phyllis and her husband, or Lola and Nino, and all of this like contemporary heterosexual relationships. But the big thing the movie ends on, and a running theme throughout it, is that relationship between Neff and Keyes. Like the end of the movie kind of comes out of left field where these two guys just kind of admit mutual respect and almost love to each other, which like kind of caught me off guard. And so I was thinking the whole time, like, why did it end that way? But it was because, like, for one, they can't, the code rules at the time wouldn't allow any type of kissing between Neff and Keyes. They wouldn't do that. But also because, like, it's that respect for each other and that trust, the risk of losing Keyes' trust is kind of the main thing that's getting at Neff. Like, if Keyes wasn't in the picture, I feel like Neff would have done this a long time ago. That respect for this man he's worked for forever and who he really dearly trusts is one of the biggest things that I think makes him confess at the end.
God, I really didn't have a sense of like how much it would really be about the details of this insurance policy or the investigation of it. But I think that Barton Keyes, like, I mean, played by Edward G. Robinson, he has such a command of the scenes he's in, and like he's so this guy. Like I don't know.
Oh, completely.
Like just this very particular, has all these kind of isms that he's talking about, like for business or for doing insurance, and he's sure of himself, and like and in some ways he almost accidentally gets off the trail for a bit, if that makes sense. Like because
it feels like a police procedural.
Yeah, absolutely. There is a sense, like that whole scene earlier in the film where the initial crime happens and then the boss brings in Neff and Barton to kind of discuss the insurance policy, and he's like a younger man. He's the son, I think, of the original owner of the company, and it's a great one where there's like some, I don't know, like Barton just has a great bit in this where he's just like knocking down all of the theories or breaking down. He just has the information. And
there's like, kind of like a puppet master like vibe to him where it's like he knows all the pieces. He has the strings tied to all the right places, but they're still a little tangled up. And so he's trying really hard to figure it out, which I think is crazy. Like the other big thing that I found in my research is that the guy who wrote the book that this is based on, James M. Cain, the ending of the book is very different. In the book, Neff and Phyllis go to Mexico and they end up on a ship but jump into shark-infested waters to evade the law. And Keyes was kind of I don't want to say comic relief necessarily, but Keyes was not a heavy hitter in the book. And so Wilder and Raymond Chandler made Keyes kind of the linchpin of the whole movie, and I think it's genius. And the author of the book did too. He was like, the movie ending is what I should have done.
I think it plays also well to Neff's character, to Walter, where it's someone who starts the film as very sure of himself, like he's the one in control, and as everything kind of becomes unraveled, he very quickly finds himself with just this overwhelming anxiety, and half of it's because he feels like he's letting down this man who he respects deeply in Barton. And you see this in every scene they're in. There's sort of this like deferring to Barton, and even just the fact that he's confessing it to him is a really interesting framing device because it also says something about their relationship, that he's not going to the police because he's still he's effectively giving himself up. I mean, but he's giving himself up to the man that he respects about this, that who he's lied to and kind of run around in this situation.
Talk about the train a little bit, because
basically to kind of describe the crime that they're kind of committing is their idea is that Mr. Diedrichsen is using crutches because there actually has been an accident.
He broke his leg,
which should have already triggered their insurance policy, but that's beside the point. But he's supposed to be going on that train. Their plan is to basically kill him, right? They kill him in the car going to travel on the train. And then their idea is that Neff will use the crutches to identify himself as Mr. Diedrichson. He'll get on the train, and then he'll have himself be seen, but then act as if he's fallen off the back of the train. They'll drop his body on the tracks with his crutches, and then they get out of there. He's identified. The insurance policy is like
I don't know
clinched.
if the plan was for him to be seen, because Neff like goes to the back of the train to like the smoking bay, and there's
to be seen insofar as that like they identified that like he has entered the train. He's like, but I get what you're saying.
Understood.
Because once he gets to the back of the train, the idea is that he's going to be alone, so that he can just like jump off whenever. Yeah. But there is a guy back there who's very chatty.
Jackson.
Mr. Jackson. Which I love this character.
He was great. I loved him.
And like he's very particular. He has a very Midwest vibe. I can't remember where exactly he's from.
He kept saying he was from was it Iowa?
I think so. It's a Midwest or maybe Ohio.
He's a Medford man.
He's a Medford man.
Keep saying he's from Medford. Massachusetts.
And Massachusetts, thank you. But he's kind of a small town guy. At least that's my feeling when he was talking to Neff. And Neff is like, fuck, how do I get this guy off the platform? And this guy just wants to have a conversation. He's just that talky guy who just wants to like be nice and get to know the people on his adventures and stuff. And Neff kind of like gives as much information as he can just to kind of get this guy off the train. And finally he's like, oh, I need like cigars or something. Yeah. And that eventually gets him off. And that's when he does the jump and they are able to get away. But now this man is a witness to the last time, and he's the last person who would have seen, in this case, what is supposed to be Mr. Diedrichson. Barden brings him in. And there's this whole scene, which is, I think, one of the best in the movie, where they're literally staging it, where Barden is talking to Mr. Jackson, and Neff is literally behind him, like literally the man who is actually the person he's talked to. It's actually pretty great with how they like the framing of the scene is, but also just how like there's a moment where like I think the interview is basically over, but Mr. Jackson keeps looking back, like almost like trying to find. He's like, "Wait, I fucking know you.
Yeah,
have you been to Medford?" And it's slightly funny, but it's also like you could just feel Neff's face. Just I think Fred McMurray just does a really great job of portraying the. Fuck, like, okay, I hope this guy, and you almost it's one of those things where it's like you almost want to play it cool, like,
right?
I mean, do the whole gaslighting thing, like, what? Why would I be the guy? What do you mean? Like, but it's just it
felt
so
kind of like in
him.
The first Superman movie, Christopher Reeve's body language when he's Clark Kent versus when he's Superman, and there's that shot where he like stands up, like he fixes his posture when he transitions between the characters, and it's a night and day difference. It felt a little bit like that.
Absolutely. No, I think that's a very good point.
What's his fucking name? Neff, like, he's in this, like, super high-waisted, very short tie kind of look the whole time that kind of makes him seem a little out of place. I know that was the style of the era, but, like, I wrote... I wrote, one of my notes was, not sure if Walter's sternum-length tie is cunty or crappy. But on top of that, like, I was looking into it because I was like, there's something with the costuming here that I know was intentional. And apparently Barbara Stanwyck wore a purposefully shitty wig to make her character feel fake. And
interesting.
Billy Wilder, who directed it, hated it. But by the time he like made up his mind about it, they were too far along in production to change it. So like he was just like, fucking, okay, keep the wig.
I will say that like I don't think I like I think it may have just been my expectations of some of the haircuts at that specific time, which I mean have sort of, I don't want to say a fake quality, but like sort of like a very made up quality.
Sure.
If that like they're very I don't know, very specific, like the beehive or all these like very like wild I don't know, styles, but that's really interesting because I was reading that kind of as I was doing my like cursory thing. I was like, oh, I don't really the wig. I was like, I don't remember the wig, but now I mean, that is such a cool little thing to choose. I love when actors find these little they bring something to it that I mean the director's like, I don't think this is a good idea, and it's like it really helps the film. I don't know.
And I mean, on top of that, like there's all this stuff that the movie does. The Venetian blinds, I think, is probably the biggest. The biggest thing that this movie like gave to to the
To us
noir
all.
genre.
Yeah.
But that was a very intentional thing. Like that was they planned that for every single scene, and the music is so evocative and so like operatic and dramatic and really, really good. And there's a big Criterion essay about the guy who did the score for the movie, whose name is Miklos Rosa, a Hungarian guy who also did the Thief of Baghdad, and he did the music for Ben-Hur.
Oh,
so like, and another obviously talented guy. That the score drives so much of this movie. There's several characters that get introduced with a shot from behind them. You don't even see their face for a while, but the score tells you what you're supposed to think about them.
No, that's a very good point.
This was the other, like the one last production design thing I saw that blew my fucking mind. Like they wanted all the scenes to look dusty and kind of grungy, so they blew aluminum particles into the air.
Oh my
just
God.
fucking metal dust. All these people are acting and breathing in cancer particles, and it's just like, man, it looks good.
God, old Hollywood, man. I mean, but I makes me think of like the Dune
breathe
movie,
it,
or
eat it.
like they had like the micro sand or whatever that they would use for these these.
We made your suit out of uranium because it has the best glow.
Exactly. God damn it. I appreciate the look of this film a lot, and it's
very confident in how it presents itself.
The film takes everything very seriously. Like, none of this is like played for laughs, even if there are like there are kind of joke or clever lines. Like they're played very seriously, and the stakes are taken very seriously, and the characters take them seriously. And I think that's it plays to that what will be the noir genre, is that there isn't this like
kind of like an over seriousness with it. Like
yes,
it's like a theatrical kind of drama,
but it's not too much. Like you never feel like you're like this doesn't work, because there's even like little goofy moments like
and then I thought about what the cemetery was for. It's for putting dead people in. Like there's lines that are just funny, but they're said so straight, and yes, I love it. I love the vibe this movie is able to bring out.
Well, Jacob, would you recommend this film?
Obviously, it's so much fun, and like I said, every sitcom, every long-running show has a film noir episode, and this is where it all comes from. It's infectiously fun, even if you know what's going to happen, which you do if you've been listening to us. But like, it's just one of those movies where you appreciate the craft, and it's instantly iconic.
I agree with this. I think this would be a great. I think everyone. I mean, it's also, this does feel like a film history thing where it's like, I'm glad that I watched this. For like, I feel like this helps me get such a frame of mind for so many of these like future adaptations of this thing, which I feel like is in so much of the media that I enjoy. Like, I mean, I think like BioShock and both Infinite and BioShock, the original, and I mean like Grim Fandango, like all these like different media sources that have used the noir genre or LA noir. Like it's like they are all playing with these ideas, or how you would approach lighting or tone and dialogue, and it's also a very fun bag of tools that they've created for these future things, because they are very particular to the noir genre in a way that like it doesn't feel derivative, doesn't like it has its own vibe, which is very cool that they were able to create that with just one film. I often find in music, I really love the punk genre, and there's like the proto-punk songs where it's like they are almost there, or almost kind of getting to this idea of it, but there really didn't need to be this transitionary point. Though I'm sure there are films that I'm just not familiar with that probably have some proto aspects to this kind of genre, but it's very well done. I really
think saying what you said about it being like a film history thing is really good, because like kind of like how people say, oh, Blazing Saddles couldn't be made today. This probably could be made today, but not in the same feeling. Like I know that this was kind of a bombastic movie when it came out, because who was making movies about women wanting to kill their husbands in the 40s? That they wanted you to like not think about the fucking Holocaust that was going on.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah.
But like it's a great little representation of 40s cinema, and like I'm excited to watch more of the 40s movies that are in our list, because there are a bunch of them. But I feel like if you had to only pick one, this would be a pretty good choice.
I agree. You know what's other good choice that I know you appreciate is
your transitions?
The Naked Prey.
Cornell Wilde, baby.
Thank you. Yeah, released in 1965. It is something that I'm really interested to hear your thoughts on, because it's I was thinking this reminded me so much of very specific films. Like, I don't know if you felt The Revenant at all in this, but I felt a lot of that film in this.
This is I know you got real mad at me last episode about talking about the monomyth, but this is man versus nature. This is man versus wild.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, boiled down to its absolute essentials.
Yes. This is a chase movie of chase movies. There are elements of that are problematic, but
what's this movie about, Nick?
Say.
What about it is problematic?
I'm gonna give it to you because I'm gonna give it to you. I'm gonna send it back.
So, I mean, this is a very simple movie plot.
It's a very simple movie plot. I think it almost makes it hard to describe in some ways.
The opening titles have one named character, and it's Cornell Wilde as man. That's not even a fucking joke. Yes. Cornell Wilde as man is this. He's a safari guide who is on an elephant hunt with an investor and a slave troupe. They come into contact with some tribal leaders in the area that expect a gift, and the investor pushes through them. Later, the warriors discover their camp and either torture or kill everyone except for the guide, who I'll call him the guide instead of man, because that's going to get annoying. Yeah. And they strip him naked. They throw a spear down, a spear or an arrow or something, like, down the way, and they tell him to run. And he runs. As soon as he passes that marker, they start going after him. One of them tries to hit him with his spear. He misses, and then the guide kills the warrior and runs away. And the rest of the movie is basically the warriors following the guide. There's some other there's some stuff in there, like the guide needs to pretty much learn how to survive in the African landscape. He comes upon a village and sees some Arab slavers capture everybody there except for this young girl. They become friends. They kind of teach each other songs. She helps nurse him back to health after he falls down a waterfall, but they separate when she doesn't want to leave her homeland. And then those warriors, they still following him, and they only stop when he gets back to the colonial fort where the initial elephant troop left. And right before he kind of goes back into the colonial fort, him and the lead warrior kind of nod at each other, and then the movie ends. And you're like,
that's the thing. Yeah, there really is not like a. Yeah. Well, and I think like it's like this is an interesting one to talk about. It's almost like the exact opposite to the French Dispatch, but it has a similar issue where it's in terms of like your ability to discuss it, because it's like I think you have to feel this film to appreciate it.
That is an amazing way to put it.
It reminds me so much. I don't know if you have this reference point, but it's reminded me so much of how George Lucas, like when he was younger, he was obsessed with this idea of like a tone poem, which like this film feels very similar to what I imagine is what he reflected. These films that are more emotional, like even though he didn't go on to make very like fully emotional films, but just films that like evoke a feeling or a sense of space and not even of a specific time, because I think there's something, I wouldn't say timeless about the film, but like there really is very little dialogue. There's very little
the screenplay was 9 pages long.
That's amazing.
And it got nominated for an Oscar.
That's, I mean, and then there is some, the
screenplay specifically got nominated for an Oscar.
Oh, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Dude, that's so funny. It depends on how much we want to go into it, but it does speak to this very particular moment, because just where this film is coming out in, this is a decolonial movement or moment in time, and there is something about the noble savage that is kind of all over this film. There's like you were saying, like the end of the film is
it's a little white saviory. It's a little white saviory.
Yeah, absolutely. And even the fact that like obviously we're supposed to be presented with the fact that the arrogance of the people who are not like willing to pay the toll effectively, or like and the arrogance of assuming that they can just get past. They know these lands, and even that he himself is like the guide. Like it's not like a native to this land.
He's not doing the slavery. He's not killing the elephants.
Yeah, he's the good white guy.
He's the good white guy who's gonna pay this toll. And then he's going to run after them, and he's going to get saved by the other white guys. He's not his fault that they're there.
Yeah.
Like the native as a plot device.
Yeah, native as plot device. Like there's an appreciation for the power, or like maybe like vague cultural aspects, but they really don't get they are a force of nature, like you were saying. Like
I think
it's fitting this. Yeah,
that's a cool viewpoint to look at the movie from, because it obviously has a lot of respect for Africa. It was shot on location in South Africa. It's in the opening title sequence where it says the music in this picture is African music played on African instruments by, I forget if it says Black Americans or African Americans, but it is, it's purposefully no subtitles. Like they didn't even produce any for the movie for the like native African languages that are here. So like there's all these shots of the African landscape. I know a lot of it is stock footage because it looks so different from what they shot. But there's all this stock footage. Then
that's not always a bad thing.
No, I'm not saying that as like a dig against it.
No. Yeah,
there's so many
shot in South Africa, I believe. Which
there's
has its own things.
Thanks for Elon Musk, you dipshits. But no, I'm
and
kidding.
apartheid.
Yeah. There's so many scenes that begin with a little montage of just the food chain or the local flora and fauna.
Yeah.
Or just landscapes. And it's
very documentary
gorgeous.
Almost.
It's absolutely beautiful. And it's put up against this man who's running for his life from people that I think the intention is that you respect them as warriors, but also as humans. But I don't know if the movie super succeeds in doing that, because they're really just chasing after this guy. They gonna kill him if they find him.
Yeah, I couldn't help but feel like I think you're right. I think there is an appreciation for them. There's an
intention
that yes, there's an intent, like even using the music too. I think there's an intentionality to want to.
So good.
The music is
so good.
It amps it fucking
it's
like
awesome.
It's really well done, and it's like there is like something to be said about there's like these different eras of film have very specific like film scores like that are kind of native to that era of film, and this one has unless it's. I'm just not familiar with films set in Africa. I feel like, and there's a lot of tension in this film. Like the film has this. I mean, I keep comparing it to films, but I think it's helpful for people who haven't seen it, like to get the sense of it just goes, like the Fury Road aspect, not as like high tension, but there is like this always driving. We're always driving forward. Like
the longer he stays put, the closer the warriors are getting to him, and like they have so much resolve and are so part of the continent that they don't have the same issues that the guide has with like finding food or getting fresh water or like making clothes or anything, because it's called the naked prey because he is stripped naked, and he basically stays that way the whole time.
And when it does speak to, I think that is something I do appreciate about the fact that like in their local environment, it's
that is their home.
That is it.
That's where they be.
That is intelligence that and skill that the film does give them, because we do get a sense of the culture, even if it's not a lot. We do get a sense of the native cultures. I feel like there was some conversation back and forth, even though I do wish, like you were saying, the subtitles. I wish that they had.
I understand.
Most of these audiences would not be familiar.
I understand the idea, because it's like you're not supposed to really know what they're saying, much in the same way that.
Like and then he wouldn't,
right. Yeah. Like he understands their customs more than he understands their language, and it's also like it's a way to making the viewer feel as out of place as him, and to not anglicize these people who have such a rich culture. But I think that is where the movie kind of doesn't live up to the expectations it has for itself, because other than the white savior part, like this guide is suspiciously good at fighting. Like he he steals the spear and a sword from the tribal warriors, and he's better at fighting than they are, even though like he doesn't look like it at all. He has this thing where there's a bunch of warriors running down the forest line, and he's kind of just ahead of them, but then he can before they reach him, start a fire, build arrows, like craft arrows, set the arrows on fire, and then miraculously shoot at all of these people following him in a way that starts a forest fire and fends them off, but doesn't shoot them because he respects them.
And he is in over his head. I mean, like in the sense of like what he's up against, but
like he doesn't know how to hunt. He knows how to make a fire and flaming arrows, but he doesn't know how to hunt an animal.
That's very true. And there is a much worse version of this movie. Like there, like, or in terms of like how it portrays this white savior aspect that we're circling around. But I do think that
I don't think the white savior stuff is intentional. I think it's just.
Absolutely. It's trying to come at it from more.
You can tell it was like a very quickly made movie. And I know it was low budget. Like I think the budget was I put this down. It was under $700,000 in the 60s. So under $6.5 million today. So very cheap for a movie, especially one on location in South Africa. There's a lot of good stuff about it. There's a lot of redeeming qualities of it. I really liked this movie. It's just that I think that Cornel Wilde seemed like an incredibly intelligent man, but also, you write a movie, you direct the movie, you cast yourself in the movie.
You bring all those biases with you. You bring all these this frame of mind and the frame that was used at that time.
Sure.
Like the way that a Western eye or like a South African white eye would see like native peoples of Africa or just the circumstances that are being encountered in this film. And I'm thinking too, I mean, like in terms of the budget, like it's like if you are shooting on location, like it'd probably be more of the camping equipment that you'd be bringing in. And I'm sure, do you have a sense of like where was it funded in like another country or was it entirely a South African production?
Cornel Wilde was an American filmmaker and he had a lot of pull in Hollywood from what I gathered before this, because he was already a very popular actor. He was in The Greatest Show on Earth. He was in Leave Her to Heaven. He was nominated for Best Actor, I think. After getting that like level of fame, he founded a production company and he began making movies. And so, yeah, like you said, there's a little bit of bias that creeps its way in that I don't think was intentional, but is just kind of there.
To give some props to, I think, the leader of the group that is chasing him,
Ken Gampu.
Thank you. He does he brings I don't know, like a gravitas or like a
magnetism
role.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. He's taking this role seriously and using the tools he has, and also just, I mean, facial acting or performance work to like, because you have to use the body in a different way when you are literally only going to be shown on screen in an active role. And the same thing applies for Cornel Wilde, but it's something that I appreciated about his performance. I can't imagine being an actor who has to do the active roles of this because you don't have a sense of your space. You're not getting dailies on, I mean, especially a lower budget like that.
Oh, you're not seeing none of this shit till you're getting back to America.
And so like they really have to have the confidence in how they're performing these scenes and really trust the director and know that they like know what they're doing, I guess. And I just think that they all do a fantastic job, even though we don't really get enough time with them.
I mean, the point of the movie is not to characterize these tribal warriors. It's to show like the encroachment of white people or slavers or colonizers into their culture and how that affects their stuff. And I think like one of the main themes is when the nature or the people and things that live there fight back against that encroachment. And that is, I think, a pretty powerful thing. Like this man who says he knows the area and seems to be fairly confident in dealing with some of these tribes is so obviously out of his element that like he doesn't know how to get food.
Someone who's supposed to be a safari guide can literally almost a day out of
should probably know how to hunt. Yeah.
But
at the same time, like he obviously is good at the social aspect of it. He saves this girl from the Arab slavers and he makes a friend with her, and it's not like an imbalanced relationship. He teaches her a song, she teaches him a song, and they have a positive like little bonding experience before they split up, and then the plot remembers that it's happening. And like I thought it was very nice, even though my main note from that segment is a child vigorously rubbing an older man's back. I didn't know this was a movie about the president.
Jesus Christ. Well, is there any scenes you wanted to touch or tackle that you like really appreciated, or like, do we want to head to the
some of the larger battle scenes in this, like the warriors chasing after the guide before he sets the forest on fire was, I think, probably the standout of the movie. Yeah. But also the torture scene, like the part where the tribal warriors,
the ritual, killings.
Yeah, they capture the elephant hunting troop. Yes. And it's just like, it's kind of a big, like a long sequence of torturing all these people in different ways. They cover a man in clay and then literally spit roast him. I thought it was, even in the moment when I was watching it, I was like, I understand. I think I get what this is trying to do. It's trying to be like, look at all this savagery, but actually they're not savages. This is what they were pushed to do by rude colonizers, and like this is just how they've done things. And I respect that. I don't think it really accomplished that, because it was just something where you're like, holy fuck, they're spit roasting that man. And
well, like, I think it's like one of those things where there are so few representations of these types of indigenous cultures and like the practices that they have. So it's without like dialogue explaining why these particular choices of are being made by these tribesmen. I think does kind of create this situation where you can't help but like make it this alien experience, even though I do think they're like, it's not portrayed as if they're fully savage or something. Like, this is like clearly like a planned and also like
this is like a tradition. This is a thing that like has significance to them. I thought it was a cool thing to show that, while also you're being like, what the fuck is happening here?
Fuck is that? Yeah, no.
Holy shit.
Yeah. Well, and there's also like, I think this is probably my last like big thing I wanted to cover, was just that it's hard to do action scenes that feel like you know what is happening or where the space is. I never feel like, there might be a few times where it does feel like we're like, where are we in this space? But I felt like that was not necessarily an issue. Like, it felt like
the vast majority of them were very well telegraphed and
absolutely
portrayed.
My immediate thought always goes to like someone like Christopher Nolan, who has, I mean, like a fantastic director, but sometimes has such a bad sense of space. Like, like it was so clear on earlier films of action scenes where less things are even happening, where I feel like this one would be much easier to fuck up. And it's so clear that like, I'd be interested to know if there was like a lot of storyboarding that's happening. And the camera's dynamic. Like, it's which is difficult, like to not lose yourself in like literally a jungle setting where there's a lot of movement. And we're not familiar with our surroundings. I don't know. It was very well done.
Yeah. I think the like very last scene that stuck out to me, like there were a lot of good moments, but the one that kind of gave me the most stuff to think about is after I keep coming back to when he sets stuff on fire, but he's kind of like, it's one of the few bits of dialogue you get after the chase starts. The guide sets this forest on fire and it scares the warriors away, and he's like dancing in front of it saying, burn you bastards, burn you devils. I don't know if thematic, but like something that I think the movie did succeed in showing, which was like the perversion of him setting everything on fire. It's not just an effective defense or offense for him. It is perverse, because all of these tribal people exist as one with their landscape. So do all of the animals that we see time and time again, because every day starts with a little mini montage. It's only by destruction. It's only by proving you can destroy something that he finally gets the upper hand on them. I was like, that is
sort of as a Princess Mononoke kind of situation where it's like,
and I was watching that.
It's brutal in some cases.
That hit really hard.
Yeah, it does speak to the encroachment, as you've been saying.
I know they tortured a group of elephant hunters, but like that was probably the most savage thing in the movie, is him setting a bunch of stuff on fire and literally dancing around and shouting.
Yes, exactly.
And I thought that was cool.
Well, Jacob?
Yeah.
Would you recommend this film?
I think so. I don't know exactly who I would recommend it to. I think, like you said, people who like kind of naturalistic action, but also I think fans of B movies, because I think a lot of what you see in B movies, like what they watch on Best of the Worst sometimes, feels very similar to this. Not in that this is a bad movie, but in that it's low budget. It's put together by competent people who don't have a lot of resources. And it's not always successful as what it's trying to do, but it's entertaining. Yes. Like flat out. And
it really is. And it does, it's not a very long film, but it uses every single moment. I don't know, even the quieter moments, it does have a really great sense of pacing, which is surprising for a film like this, I think. Like, because I love Fury Road. Like, that's a chase film that I fucking love. But the idea of watching that sometimes, like, I think I've only seen the film twice because of how exhausted you are. Whereas I don't feel that way after this film. Like, it has enough to kind of let you sit with it for a second, like, without losing that drive. Like, you're still very aware that they are coming.
Well, and also like you can easily make something like this repetitive. Like a chase movie is you run away, then they catch up, then you run away, then they catch up, and then there's something that makes one of those things stop happening. Yeah. And
It's come up with new bits. It's come up with new patterns or new ideas that can be hard to, I would imagine, to write out or to conceive of to make them that different.
And there was very little repetition in it. It makes it feel very well considered, the story here, which it didn't have to be, even if it wasn't super successful in achieving some of its goals, I think.
I'm in agreement there. I would recommend it to anyone who, in a similar case, likes a very stripped down movie that I think has.
If you like The Revenant, give this a watch.
Yeah, honestly, if you like The Revenant, I think this is the perfect one for you. It's also just a really specific time in film. I think that is interesting to kind of see how they approach it.
Like, I can't think of another movie I've seen that feels the same as this. Like, chase movies, the Revenant does have a lot of the same kind of vibes as this. There's such a specific energy in this movie, and I think it's that they are really in Africa, and the authenticity of the tribal people and the music and all the stuff that's going on. It is well worth watching, even if it's not necessarily your cup of tea, because I don't know how many people's cup of tea this would exactly be. I'm glad it came up, because if I didn't even know about this movie before
me either.
It popped up on our list, and now it's something I have recommended to people since we watched it. I was talking with somebody at work, and I was like, I don't really know how to describe this movie other than a guy runs for 90 minutes, but it's so much better than that.
Hell yeah. But as we round out on our fourth film, let us tie them together. So, Jacob, what do you think is a through line that you found among these four films?
I thought, I thought initially that like it was authentic love versus inauthentic love, because I watched Double Indemnity and I Married a Witch back to back. And I was like, I guess you could argue French Dispatch fits in here, but Naked Prey throws that all out the window. So I landed on that each one centers around being out of place in one way or another. Because Jennifer and Daniel are, in I Married a Witch, are very much not, like they burned the witches. They're not supposed to be in society. And so when they get brought back into the 1940s, like they're out of place and are trying to still complete their goals in a society that they don't understand. In Double Indemnity, Walter's not supposed to be in Phyllis's life. Lola and Zacchetti never feel like they're in the right place together, and it ends up being like Neff is never in the right area because he's just kind of a silly feller. In French Dispatch, one of the main, I think, sources of conflict in the movie that is consistent across all the vignettes is the place of the journalist in their setting. I don't think in the Concrete Masterpiece it exactly fits, but it's more Rosenthaler is the one out of place. He doesn't want to be an artist, so or at least he doesn't want this pressure that Cadazio is putting on him to create art. He just kind of does it because he feels something. And then and the other two, Kremens and Wright, are very much out of place. Like her whole thing is journalistic neutrality, and then Wright and Nescaffier have that incredibly good discussion about being outsiders in society. So that was the thing that kind of tied all of those together for me. And the Naked Prey is just obvious. He's a white guide in tribal South Africa. Don't do that.
Unless you're going to be empathetic and appreciative and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
I think for me, my biggest piece that I kind of came through is kind of the narratives people tell about the circumstances they're in, but also how those narratives conflict with the reality of what we're actually facing. And I think
that's a very cool way to tie those together. I like that a lot.
Well, thank you. And in Double Indemnity's case, I think just the fact that Neff is telling this narrative, like there's a confidence to how he's related to all the people that he's encountering that so quickly is torn apart, and he thinks of himself as just this cool ass guy. He knows what the fuck is up, and it is so clear very early on and throughout the film that almost immediately his idea of himself and what he thinks he can impose on the world just immediately falls apart, and everyone else is kind of writing the narrative with him. I mean, they're kind of rewriting his own idea of what he can do and what his sense as a man, or his sense of like relationship to his own boss, or his relationship to this crime he's committed. And it all kind of falls apart. In Naked Prey, I think it's sort of the narrative that these white folks have kind of created for themselves, that he can call himself a safari guide, but almost immediately find himself in circumstances that he's unaware of. He doesn't know how to fucking, as we've been saying, has no idea how to hunt or like effectively live in this environment past like the immediate capture or immediate struggle that he finds himself in. I Married a Witch, I think, is interesting in the sense that like all the characters have like, well, this is what it means to be a witch. This is what it like both in the sense of the father kind of having expectations of his daughter, and also even just the soon-to-be governor. I know I should be doing this role, and it just all of the complications of like those things falling quickly apart when circumstances change, and you're a witch casts a spell to kill himself, and you're left holding the bag, dude. That's a narrative you didn't think you'd find yourself in, dude. In French Dispatch, I think this one is probably the most immediately applicable, but just the fact that each of the journalists find themselves telling a certain story about the things they're encountering, and they're often wrong. And I mean, I think in the concrete masterpiece sense, it's like Andrew Brody's character is the best embodiment of this, is that he is crafting a narrative of what modern art is. And like at the end of the day, like he realizes it's not even for him, if that makes sense. It's something that he has created this notion of that actually doesn't hold up to reality, and is only hurting the people it was meant to be sold to or taken from. And then for revisions of a manifesto, it's a journalist who has created this idea of herself that like she is separate, she is apart, and can't help but find herself lured or almost jumping actively into to be a participant in history. And the kids who have no idea what their narrative is, but are acting as confident as they can to kind of impose it on the world. And then I think with the final narrative, I think in terms of Roebuck Wright's story, there is something about him refusing to almost see the fact that he is playing a larger role, and he almost shouldn't have to, because it's because of partially his identity, his sense of self, that gives him this larger meaning that he doesn't want to have. He wants to see himself as a food journalist, but he can't help but leave an impact or provide a better framing to these circumstances. So I think narratives are a really big core piece of how I saw these films. So just everyone telling themselves a little bit of lies, and then actually how it actually happens in reality. That sometimes you just get in a situation where a witch shoots himself and then is like, it's on you.
And then you become a politician.
Wooly! I love him! I love Wooly! And now that my narrative has come to an end, we must now evaluate the narratives of other things we've been enjoying lately. Jacob, what have you been enjoying lately? We will give you 1 minute. Or is it? How long is it?
Do whatever you want. I'll talk until timer goes up, or maybe less.
Let's do 2 minutes on the clock.
Oh boy, 2 minutes.
I'm gonna give you 2 minutes on the clock.
Okay.
To describe the media you've been consuming, the things you've been enjoying. Go.
So I've been trying to fill in some gaps of movies that I haven't seen yet. I was trying to watch all of the Best Picture nominees before the Oscars happened and didn't really get that far, but one movie I watched that I absolutely adored was Good Luck, Have Fun, Don't Die, which is Gore Verbinski's new movie, the same guy that did the first 3 Pirates of the Caribbeans and Rango and the 2002 American version of The Ring. And if you haven't seen it or haven't heard of it, I don't want to spoil too much because it is such an incredibly fun, wacky movie, but it's this guy from the future goes back in time to stop an AI from getting completed. And it is incredibly darkly funny. It is so wild and zany. And like every few minutes you're just hit with something where like, what the fuck is going on? But I love it. And Sam Rockwell is superb. Juno Temple is in it, and she is ridiculously good. I can't recommend it enough. It did not get a lot of press. It was playing for a while, but I don't think it got made a whole bunch of noise, but I hope other people watch it because it was so good.
That was awesome.
Everybody go watch Good Luck, Have Fun, Don't Die. It's so good.
I need to watch that.
So
good. I like the Parts of the Caribbean movie, and I loved Rango, so I think I'll need to watch that.
Gore Verbinski has been gone for far too long. I think he got put in director jail after making the Lone Ranger movie where Johnny Depp played Tonto. But
dude, that is such a wild film. Yeah. I think there's definitely like 4 video essays in that film to do.
Oh yeah.
But if you want to start, I can start a timer.
No, I got you, boy.
Okay.
Nick, I'm putting 2 minutes on the timer for you. Please tell me about your hyperfixation of the week.
My hyperfixation of the week has been, well, I watched the entirety of American Vandal season 1.
Okay.
With a friend. They had not seen it before. I have seen it, but it had been a while. The premise is basically someone has drawn 27 dicks on cars, and then that's the crime. And you basically are following the main character, who is like the dumbest shit ever, but like everyone knows a kid like this, but it's
It's a great series.
It's so good, and I'm unhappy that it only had 2 seasons, but it kind of probably only needed 1 in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah.
But I think it also has just every younger actor from that generation. I think it fully captures. I was a teen, and I was like in 2016, like, and that is my generation, like, is distilled in the social media and the content that they like are kind of referencing, or how kids worked at that time. So I think it's a very good series, almost even just as a time capsule. Other than that, I've been really enjoying a lot of Dropout content lately, but also a lot more Smosh. I know. And it's especially like randomly, this is such a specific reference point, but there's a lot of great fan compilations of some of the Smosh like players. Like there are a lot of comedic actors. That's like this old YouTube channel that has kind of become this kind of ensemble cast similar to Dropout. And especially the Spencer, Amanda, and I cannot remember. Oh, and Courtney and Shane compilations. If anyone would like to look this up, especially look up Spencer Getting Away With It. So fucking funny. There's just this series of, I think 7, where they basically are just clips of Spencer from Smosh saying the most fucked up things, but for some reason gets away with it because there's a certain charm that man has.
That's 2 minutes. But
my
sister keeps saying that like she watches a lot of Smosh, and I appreciate. I haven't gotten into their YouTube stuff. I obviously like when I was in middle school, or like like when I was a kid, and they were doing like the classic Smosh stuff that is
the sketches,
highly problematic now, just because it hasn't aged great. But anytime that they're on Dropout, I do enjoy them, and
that's awesome. You know, I really appreciate them, and I think it's like it's so different than how it was back then. It definitely has the Dropout like vibe, where it's like it's a lot of like improv as sort of the they're playing games, or there's some framing device, but it's a lot of really comedically talented people that are just kind of like vibing off each other. So I would say recommend that to anybody. But I think we're coming in on what our next films will be.
Oh my god.
The randomizer, the Wheel of Terror.
Let me spin it up. The Wheel of Terror. We always have the looming threat of Salo or Jellyfish Eyes or
Chasing Amy.
That the looming threat of Kevin Smith is always there. All right, let me run this.
Get ready, viewers.
Okie dokie. All right, Nick.
What do we got?
We got one movie. It is A Taste of Honey, which is from the 1960s, a 1961 British film directed by Tony Richardson. But we also have an external force that seems to be putting its thumb on the scale.
What?
And it has chosen
What's happening?
Funny Games by Michael Haneke from 1997.
Is this external force have a person-like quality to them?
I'm sure it does, but I think people might have to tune in next time to see exactly what that force is.
We're very happy to announce that we will have a guest for the next episode, and they're very cool. It's a friend of ours, Alex, and he is a horror aficionado, a fanatic for horror, and he is going to be bringing on Funny Games, which we have not seen, and we are aware might be a bit fucked up.
Oh boy,
excited
I have heard stuff. I have not ever looked into it. I've just heard people be like, "Don't watch Funny Games." So thanks, Alex, dickhead.
And we will welcome him that way.
And I can't wait. Yeah.
But it has been great talking to you, Jacob. I hope you have
as well
as everyone listening. And I appreciate you. If you made it all the way through us attacking Wes Anderson, if you loved him, I appreciate you making it.
Yeah.
Yes. I appreciated it.
Get in the comments. Tell me what you think. Tell me if you also dislike things a lot of other people like.
Yes, absolutely.
Let us know.
Bye, everybody. This was the episode.
Cool.
I don't know how to end these things. This will be where the music's playing out, and you'll be like, oh, that was so funny, the way they did that. And goodbye.